I'm Luke Manson, and this is the Kiwistyle podcast. Here I talk to my friends in the New Zealand hardcore scene about what they've been up to and what they're going to get up to. I'm the singer of the band Exile, and I've been playing in New Zealand hardcore bands non-stop for like the last 18 years. And in that time, I made a lot of good friends, and right here is where I'm going to share those stories on the Kiwistyle podcast. Today on the pod, I've got Garreth and Bones from the New Zealand hardcore band Drop Off Point. These guys have been in Regime and dialing it all the way back to the mid-2000s, Daredevil and Arcane. They're also the duo behind New Zealand hardcore, past and present. NZHCPP documents all of old NZR hardcore material, from photos to old albums and CDs. They also even go as far as collecting old VHS tapes and converting them into digital. They also have their own zine, which releases on physical copies only. And they're also the masterminds behind Foundation Fest, which had its debut this year with a Moment of Truth reunion, which was epic. Now, before we get into the pod, I want to let you guys know about the Kiwistyle Podcast Patreon. Being a member of the Patreon gives you first access to all of the episodes. Coming up, we've got Chris Bosman, aka Boozy, talking about Promise of Bloodshed, Kill Me Quickly, all of those early 2000s metalcore New Zealand hardcore days. We've also got 2 podcasts talking about Exile's Japan tour and our first Europe tour, as well as a whole original Antag lineup podcast and even the Jordan Brothers as well. So if you want to be first, they'll be up on Patreon first. And finally, you'll be supporting this channel, which allows me to do more podcasts, get more guests, and hopefully the end goal is to get some international guests on here as well. And with that, I want to thank you guys for supporting the podcast. 2024 was the podcast's first year. I learned a lot of lessons about filming, editing, and also a lot about the guests. And I learned a lot about New Zealand hardcore, and I hope you guys did too. So it's been a cool year. I'm looking forward to 2025. Like I said, I got like 5 podcasts that I filmed this year that I still haven't released as well. And I want to thank you guys for watching. I hope you learned a thing or two and enjoyed them as much as I did. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and I'll see you guys in 2025. Now let's get into the pod. Boys, welcome to the Kiwistyle podcast. Garreth and Bones, welcome.
What's up, brother?
Thanks for having us,
Yeah,
buddy.
thanks for having us, man.
Cheers.
Nice. Most notably from Drop Off Point, but also legacy Hamilton bands. I reckon we start off, you two met in high school.
Yeah, man.
Tell me about it. Obviously didn't look like this, a little bit less, probably.
Bit more hair.
Bit more hair.
I bet you guys
No
scribbled
beard.
on yourself a little bit, but probably
Yeah,
not
bro.
permanently.
Yeah,
that's right.
Pretty much.
You sent me a photo and I was like, who's who?
You were like, who was that? And I was like, that's me.
Yeah.
I was like, X'd up.
Yeah.
I'll give you the photo so you can put it in here.
Yeah.
But it was that. So we met at Melville High School in 1996.
True.
So that's 28 years ago.
Yeah.
So, and then we started a band, Final Stand. I won't say our first band.
Oh yeah, we changed the name before Final Stand. We were Troll.
Troll.
Like
T-R-O-L-L.
Yeah.
Nice.
It was a high school sort of like a rock band. Did like rage covers and stuff.
Did troll mean the same as what it meant now? Is what it meant?
No way. It
Like
was like
troll
little
just meant
troll
like
dolls.
like
But yeah, so we were Troll until we went to our first hardcore show, and then we changed our name. And
to
pretty
Final
much.
Stand, and that's what those photos were.
Yeah.
And that photo, those photos are actually from the Meteor. So we were playing the Meteor like way back before the Hamtown Smackdown days.
Oh.
It was very like council were like hands off. You just paid for the rent and you just went nuts, bro. Like it was very derelict to what it was even in Smackdown. You know what I mean?
Because it's done a couple I can think of it's done one big renovation, right? So it must have. They didn't do the urinal, I know that's for sure. It looks like the same lino in the urinal back there, but the rest of it looks much nicer.
Gareth hired it out one time for a Final Stand show, and a guy smashed up the toilets that we had to pay for. That was like...
Yeah, I used to put on quite a few shows
That's
back
when
then,
punks would love to like kick porcelain toilets, eh?
Right.
I'd see them and they just stomp it, like
man.
trying to break them.
And we still didn't... We were still allowed back there. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's what it was like back then, but it was cool. But like, so that was about 97... that we were in Final Stand, and we played shows of like Hamilton legends like Shincaster. and Balance from Auckland.
Quick Slide.
Yeah. 8 count. Yeah. But like, if you see, remember that, the Antag Justice shirt?
Yeah.
Like, that's a Balance.
There's a Balance, yeah.
Kind of tribute shirt, you know what I mean?
What would you call it? What do you call it when people are selling like fake T-shirts of bands? A bootleg. It's like an Antag bootleg. Yeah. But it was like, so they were pretty influential back then. And I remember we played with Balance and our drummer, Bird.
Oh, it was our first hardcore show.
And he was just like he was like slamming it and halfway through the fucking song and just stopped. And we were like,
it was a disaster.
What the fuck is going on? And then we were like, oh man, we're never getting asked back again. But those guys were like super fucking cool. All those older guys were like super humble, and they were we played way more shows after that. It was like, they didn't even fucking care. You know what I mean? So it was just like, we're little groms. Yeah. Just fucking having a good time. All like X'd up and shit.
They sort of took us under their wing.
But yeah, it was cool. So yeah, that was 97. And
so we've pretty much been friends since then.
Nearly 30 years.
Yeah.
And Hamilton was going hard at that time. So that Hamilton had its own ecosystem, or was it still like 100%. a little moon orbiting Auckland?
It was the three main centres. It kind of still was like Auckland, Hamilton, Wellington.
Yeah,
it was back then.
Apart from back then, like it was mainly Auckland and Hamilton. Wellington did have some hardcore bands, but but it was real mixed shows. But
the Auckland and Hamilton guys always went down to Wellington.
Yeah, for sure. What I mean? It was always like mixed shows down in Wellington.
It was a lot more punk down there, like we played heaps of punk fests and shit like that.
That's what I get the vibe. Like I just had, I was just doing Jason, the drummer of Standover and Damaged, etc., and had his. Yeah, when he backlogged it back to the early days, it was a lot of punk.
Yeah. Say fast forward a couple of years, like 99 or 2000, I was with a band called Daredevil, and we played 99 and 2000, I think. Back then it was some random, it was grotty as. Yeah. But it was like super fun. But that was like, Wellington had their own like punk scene, but it was just Auckland and Hamilton that really held it down for hardcore, eh?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I'd say these days it's definitely Wellington is holding it down the most, I think.
Yeah,
at the moment,
done a pretty good job.
Yeah, for sure.
For like traditional hardcore, I mean, Auckland has got all those metalcore bands coming up.
Yeah, for sure. But like,
I don't want to give it away. I gotta protect what's mine. You know what I mean? Like, they're all good. You're all good.
You're all good. G. Yeah, all good.
Bridge City's taking the title back, boys.
That's good. It's good to see a little bit of a resurgence.
For sure.
So back then, all right.
Back then, bro, was like a lot of hall shows.
Yeah,
like
for
out
sure. A lot of
almost in like the country of like just on the outskirts of Hamilton. There was a lot of like Frankton Town Hall show, but like those old army halls and stuff that are just out in the wops. That's all it was, bro. You just like showed up with your amps. There was no miking of amps or anything. There was a PA. You just showed up with your amps. Drums weren't mic'd up, and you just let rip. You know what I mean? And it was just like that was it for ages. And plus. Sure. Stage 7 as well, like that was down Knox Street, which was just around the corner from Meteor, and that was like the staple of like the hardcore all ages venue. It was like old army barracks, so it had like, how many rooms did it have?
I'm not too sure, but the main room was just like a room, and it was like the best venue back then. But it was just like a room, and we had like the best shows.
It had a long corridor of heaps of offshoots, little rooms, and that had like this crazy kitchen thing down the other end, and like, but it was like, it was just a real like rundown fucking paradise, like it was real.
I think we recorded All We Have Is Metal, some of it there, so that was pretty cool. That's pretty iconic.
Evan Short from Day One and Concord Dawn recorded All We Have Is Metal in one of those rooms. Yeah.
What was that, like 98?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a pretty iconic compilation back then. I don't know if... I think there was another compilation called...
All We Have Is Difference.
All We Have Is Difference, and then All We Have Is Metal was like the heavier hardcore bands.
Yeah. So that had like, like Day One. I don't know if you... like.
I've heard all the names.
So Andy Morden, he's playing drums in, I might get this wrong, The Second Child or something, or they played it.
There's a band called The First Child, but I'm pretty sure those are young kids.
Oh no, man, I probably got that so wrong. But anyway, he's still playing in bands. It was his band, and there was like Vendetta, State of Grace. So State of Grace was like
Vargas.
Yeah, Vargas.
Arcane.
Arcane was our band.
Yeah.
And all this is on YouTube as well. You can go like look it up. It's a pretty solid album. Like it's so Evan Shortbro had this like guitar rig, and he had programmed in people's guitar sounds. So he had like Earth Crisis, Strife.
Did he have like one of those old like Sanzant PSA ones because like bands like they were using like digital, like the first kind of like solid state digital amps. Yeah, and there was only like a select few of them, and it was like kind of like the gear nerds.
Bro, like he like you could literally just click, and he had sat there and programmed these fucking guitar sounds in.
Sick.
And so I went for Earth Crisis because fucking Earth Crisis was our jam.
Yeah.
But it sounded fucking monster. He did a fucking mean job. So yeah.
I think we only had a few takes back then.
Yeah.
I think day one.
No click tracks.
No click tracks. Just
stink.
Yeah. Oh, bro. It was terrible.
Yeah. Someone clapping in the corner.
Pretty much, bro.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you'd never get that now. Like, I remember doing a Daredevil recording in that same place.
Yeah.
We didn't have a click track, and Newbold and Woozle were just way too fast for this intro, and they did it without me. And then I was trying to go over it and re-record it, and I was just like, fuck, this is like way too fast.
And you were drumming at the time?
No, so Woozle was drumming, I was playing guitar.
Yeah,
but they just did an intro that was way too fast. It's like, where's the fucking click track, boys? But no, it wasn't there.
So with these older guys, the first thing that comes to mind is like there's like a whole generation that you guys would have like witnessed, and a whole generation of bands that were right before the bands that when I got into it. So I can think of like when I got into it, like the cool things were like seeing like Brick vs. Face, and they had all that cool artwork, and then like the first line of antagonists like kind of looked like bleeding through and shit. So what was the cool thing about like those guys that were in Shincaster and Balance?
I'd say
paint me a picture of you as like a Grom looking up to those guys and what their style and the shit that they were up to.
Well, it was kind of different because there was like the Hamilton scene had like Dean Sacred, which back then he was called Slick. He's
and he lived in Hamilton.
In Hamilton. So his artwork was sort of like Mayo, hooded characters, straight edge dudes, whole like 90s vibe. So a lot of the hardcore posters back then, like all the show posters, were sort of what you see a lot. Like
drawn by Dean.
Yeah.
Oh, no way.
Sort of
like hooded up, like kind of like your Exile one in the back.
Yeah, sort of like that.
So, but I was like, you know, like X'd up hooded characters, like real cool, man.
Yeah, so I'd say like...
He'd do his own band logos, or would the band keep their logo?
So as in logos, I'd say Balance kept it kind of like Youth Crew vibes. State of Grace. Oh no, it was just computer stuff back then, I'd say. Yeah, for logos.
Bit of Comic Sans and...
Yeah. But
But
when it comes to the show posters,
take us back to stage 7, bro. Like, what was it like? Like before shows? Remember, like skating down the streets before the shows, skating on Knox Street because it was like all fucking nice smooth tar seal, waiting for the shows to start.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm not too sure. So for us, you want to talk about the artwork or just like?
None of the guys. So like, what was the vibe of like the older guys that you looked up to when you were Grom? What was paint the picture of?
So
just the style of the headliner band and like what they brought, you know.
Okay, so I'd say like style wise, I'd say like everyone kind of looked like skaters, big baggy jeans,
big puffy shoes,
sick. Like the DCs and the knees and stuff.
Yeah, that style.
Boom
but
jeans.
Yeah,
mad.
Yeah, everyone was kind of skated before shows back then. There was heaps of skaters at shows so. But I'd say, for me, one thing I remember is I went to this show and this guy had like a pentagram on his t-shirt, the singer out of Shincaster, and as a young kid, like some of his lyrics were like, he had like back then, you know, swearing in songs to me as a teenager was like pretty hard out. Now it's just normal.
Yeah.
But fuck, it was pretty, just blew my mind as a teenager. It was pretty cool, yeah.
Yeah.
So he was cussing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But like, it was like fuck mind control was like some of the lyrics, and as a teenager I was like, fuck yeah, like it's awesome. Yeah.
So like to kind of paint a picture too for us, like going to shows, like I've got a picture of like outside of stage 7 that you can like put up now, and going into that room was just like, I don't know how many people would have gone to shows, maybe like 100 or something like that would have fit into this little room. And it was just like, there was our era was like no slam dancing, no kicks or no punches or anything like that.
Yeah.
We had one friend.
Maybe 2 years before that, before it kicked in.
So like we had this one friend, Mike, and we used to call him Shaggy Dogger because he would...
So you got to think, this time's like pre-internet, so no one really knew how to mosh. So like people were just... Yeah, we called him what? Shaggy Dog. Because no one knew how to move.
He was just like Shaggy Dog in the crowd. That was it, bro. Like,
and so it wasn't until about 98 or something, when like a lot of the Aucklanders were seeing what was happening overseas, where like Throwing Down came along and stuff. Yeah. But before then,
I had heard I had heard the group of guys had went over to Australia. Who was the New Zealand band that first went over to Australia?
Balance. Yeah,
Balance and played with...
So I think Strife was there. Or some festival, eh?
It's that Australian band that moved to like LA. It was like one of the first like metalcore bands. Day of Contempt. Then I think those New Zealanders went over. I'm not sure who was with them. And then they come back and then they had brought like the mosh style back to like New Zealand.
Yeah. Because
like, Aussies were going hard.
Yeah, it just kind of changed, eh? Like you used to get Cash Dog like doing the he'd like run and jump off the PA and like run over people, like you know, like it was like instead of like crashing straight into them, he was like running. It was pretty fucking hilarious.
Anyway, though, he looked like about 30 kg.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Don't you try it. Yeah. Yeah,
but it was cool. So there were a lot of shows, in the Meteor and Stage 7, and like that's when Sick of It All came over. Oh well, they came over in '95 and played Frankton Hall, which was like, you know, like those old war halls, you know, just like real derelict, but it was amazing. We got photos of that too. But then they also came back in '98 and played Meteor, and that was wild. Yeah, that was crazy. Like so, and
you think like Smackdown at its peak, you know, when it was huge in like 2005.
That's how those crowds
that's
were.
how it was.
Yeah.
Wow.
Big pylons, sing-alongs.
I take that for granted because I played the early ones with the Burial. Maybe the earliest one was like 2008, but it was still like massive and pretty sick, but it fell off immediately.
Yeah.
So like right before there was that heyday.
Yeah, like that 2006 DVD that we saw was peak. Like it was like that.
I was watching them. I was in the crowd for those.
Yeah. So it was like that, but it was like, so with our song Bridge City Crew, I talk about, because I wrote the lyrics for that, I was talking about like 98 was the Meteor Vendetta pylons at Sick of It All. And there's actually a video on our YouTube channel of Vendetta playing Hamtown Smackdown, and at the end it's just pylons.
Yeah. The whole
and
crowd
everybody's
collapsed.
like just jumping and like it's just like if you're at the bottom of that. See you later. But it was
for
cool.
the scene back then. That was huge. You know, like it was definitely a packed out show.
Yeah,
we commonly talk about like the pilgrimage to Smackdown and how it was like every band's back in the day aspiration to be on the Smackdown lineup, and it was kind of like a yearly thing, and everyone would play their like local shows and just be kind of psyched for Smackdown, and then meet everyone backstage and kind of like mingle and
so it was like cool. So that's what we saw, but like pre-Smackdown. Like, you know, it's funny that the festival was named after that song, and we saw all that go down back then at its peak, you know what I mean? Like Andre Rowe, the singer of Vendetta, was like, he was like our brother, you know, like he took us under our wing and he took us under his wing and was just like just a really amazing, like positive guy, you know what I mean? And like for someone that was like pretty hard, he was just a gentle giant, you know what I mean?
For sure.
And heaps of love for Andre.
Like one thing about, for some reason people seem to think like 90s shows weren't mixed. It was more like guys at shows, but back in the 90s it was like, we had like 50-50 almost in
100%.
Hamilton, eh?
Really?
100%. And in his lyrics, it was like brotherhood, sisterhood. It was all about it. You know, it was
While
good.
recording it, he got like the boys and the girls to do like brotherhood, sisterhood, and it was like So like I think people have this misconception that the '90s scene back then was very like, I don't know, misogynistic or whatever, but it wasn't, man. There were like so many girls in that scene that were like taking photos. They were like girlfriends of the guys in bands, and they were all doing their own thing. Like those West Side Straight Edge guys, all their girlfriends were like pretty integral to that massive scene. And there was like Foamy Ed and Sarah had Team Town Ace, but there was just like so many cool girls like just doing stuff back then, and it wasn't like it wasn't, you know, what people have this, you know, vision of, that it was just all this boy crew. It wasn't like
a
that,
boys
you know
club,
what I mean?
but it definitely was, and it might have
totally
changed
wasn't.
later on or whatever, but no, it definitely wasn't back then.
And you know, with the pits just being very like, you know, fun and not slamming and stuff like that, you know, it was just, you know, boys and girls in there just having fun, and it was like
but
cool to see.
even when like throwing down, you know, like I guess like hard moshing came in, it was kind of like everyone was still at the front, stage diving, singing along, and then you had like throwing down like the circuit pits and the kickboxing stuff at the back, and it was cool. I kind of liked it because the shows looked more packed back then, and it's, I'd say like when we went to like This Is Hardcore, one thing I noticed, a lot of like the more traditional hardcore bands, they had a lot more people at the front, but they were still like doing
the horseshoe.
And you know, rather
like,
than just the horseshoe, they had like heaps of people at the front, stage diving, singing along, and
cool.
still like, and it was sort of what it was like back then, even in Auckland, you know, it was cool.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
I think that's a lot of like what you know, when you post something on the internet and the show looks like it's empty,
Yeah,
but
for sure.
everyone's around the corner, but like anyone
Yeah.
who doesn't know, like your family or like normies or some of your workmates, they think that you're just playing shows to nobody.
Exactly.
Because all the pictures are just like of this
Yeah.
like a couple people like throwing down, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
for sure.
everyone's
I got
on
like
outside.
5 people in the pit.
I kind of got the vibe that like if that big horseshoe, and everybody's kind of scared of getting hit or whatever, but if everybody just stormed the stage and got to the front of the stage,
for
like
sure.
like the Sick of It All pit that was just at Galatos, then those guys wouldn't be able to do that, and it'd just be like all fun, you know? Because bro, like at This Is Hardcore, those guys were like, they were like proper crowd killers. Like you could watch them scheming, like to take dudes out. And
Like,
we were just like
that was
watching
their
dudes,
one
we were
move.
like, look at this guy. And then
That
they
was
go
their
over
one
and-
move, they only
it was
knew one
insane.
move, and
They
that was
wouldn't
it.
survive here, eh? You know how much
100%.
like
No.
people weren't even. Do you know what's crack up? Not to. This is like one of the hardest things of this podcast is to like not delve down this hole of like some of the things that you want to talk about.
Yeah.
But nobody was crowd killing in the first place. You know,
No,
like
100%.
in New Zealand. So like
Yeah.
no one was like violently moshing. You got that old like drunk guy. Sure, someone did it and someone's at the wrong place, wrong time. And it happened once, but
Yeah.
it's like because we live in this little micro scene. One thing that happens is just this big explosion.
We were talking about that on the way up, you know, like
too much.
what we saw at This Is Hardcore, if that went down here, that those people would be pointed out. But it seems so normal over there that people just move on and get on with it. There were guys like running and just diving into crowds of people, bowling them over like bowling pins.
Yeah.
And then they'd all get up and kind of laugh about it.
Maybe
And I
I'll
was
try
like,
that
man,
next show.
Yeah.
Now there used to be cartwheels back in the days into crowds in New Zealand, but
Yeah. But it was crazy. But yeah, it was very tame back then to what it is now, you know what I mean? So like, yeah. But then, you know, say we'll carry on and we'll get through the other bands that me and Gareth were in, was a band called Arcane, which was very kind of like heavy, which is on that All We Have Is Metal compilation. But then the crowds then didn't move.
like
they just didn't.
There was a lot of
just-
musicians in the crowd, so that, you know,
so they would just stand there and so you got nothing. You got nothing. DSM,
and you didn't mind back then, you know, you're just like,
DSM, West Side Auckland, like those guys got the pit, you know what I mean? Like, because they were very like catchy and like really cool. But if you're doing something heavy and melodic, they no one moved. It was just playing to a crowd of just like head nodders.
But if you got a few head nods, you're like,
It's funny because that's the crowd that every other genre of music plays to, and they're just fine with it, right? But like if that happens to a hardcore crowd, you're like, oh, you turn around in between songs
Oh, yeah,
to get a
100%.
drink or tune your guitar, and you're just like,
Someone fucking
you know what I mean? Like, it sucks.
Yeah, like
Hard
someone,
out, bro.
come on,
But
someone
like-
move.
yeah.
But
And
that's the ultimate when sometimes I tell some young fellas, like, even if it's like shit, you cannot let anyone know it's like that you're like feeling it or that it's lame, because some of those people are enjoying it, or maybe it's not popping off, but they're still standing in front of you and they're still watching.
They're
it.
still like
And that
punters. They're
person-
still paid at the door,
and that
they're
person still might come next time.
Yeah,
But if you get out there and just because the crowd's a little bit lame tonight and you write them all off, that person is going to take that probably personally.
But that person
for
will
sure.
still come up to you and say what a mean set you had. You
absolutely.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they weren't.
But
in the pit.
not everyone wants to move. Some people are happy to have a beer and just watch.
Not everything's popping as well. You have good shows and you have bad
yeah.
shows. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right, Arcane. Where's the name Arc? Is that like one of God's angels, or is that a Pokemon?
Nah, it's like, what did it mean? It was like it's like a secret or something.
It's like a
secret club or
it's like a secret crew, or like, it's not like a secret society. It's like a secret kind of crew that
like
only,
if you know the secret. Like,
if you know, you know. You know.
No,
what I mean?
just
But
kidding.
Yeah.
If you know what it's about.
But Garreth spelled it with a K.
Did I?
Oh, it's with a C, and you wrote it with a K.
Yeah.
Probably look better in graph.
I went
you were
to Melbourne,
scribbling it
mate,
that way.
like-
But
spell,
but in so many flyers it got spelled with a C, and we're like, hey,
Stink.
Yeah, stink fellas.
But
yeah.
so Arcane was like,
Middle zone, chugga chugga.
Yeah.
yes,
So if the crowds are receptive to DSM and the bouncy and the rhythm and the sing-alongs, was there a crowd for Chugga Chugga?
not well. Yes,
There was, but it was different.
They
It
didn't
was,
move.
Yeah, it was like I mean, not every band was a mosh band. You know what I mean? Like some bands, people just, I guess, I don't know. I don't know.
New Zealand has always been a collection of genres. Like the whole show has kind of been different. There's not enough bands
Yeah.
for the whole
100%.
show to be themed.
Yeah.
I guess it would be like the equivalent to like, so like we were playing heavy hardcore, like we were influenced by bands like Harvest, like who else? Converge.
all of it disembodied.
Yeah, disembodied, like heavy hardcore. Like it would be the equivalent to like say like beatdown hardcore today.
That's the emergence of like mosh and like ruthless kind of metal into hardcore.
We
like,
tuned.
you see all those New
we
York
tuned down
documentaries.
to. We tuned down to C, which was like pretty unheard of back then.
True.
So it was like
C standard.
yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
And it was like pretty heavy for back then. Like nobody really was doing that, so it brought it like right down. And I don't know if that was kind of paving the way for things to come in New Zealand hardcore, but it was like definitely, like different at that time. And maybe that's what they didn't like about it. Or they did like about it, but they didn't
Oh
want to
no, we're
dance.
always on the shows, but on the bill. But yeah, I'd just say it was just like, I guess DSM was like sort of like New York hardcore. Balance was sort of like youth crew hardcore.
Yeah.
And Hamilton scene back then was quite heavy,
Yeah.
heavy hardcore.
But so the thing with Arcane is that we dissolved Final Stand that had its last shows at like Meteor and stuff like that, and then Garreth started this band Arcane with a few other guys that I'd been in bands with and stuff like that, and I wasn't a part of it, and and then so the drummer,
On purpose.
yeah. So
Didn't need two bassists.
so the drummer wasn't up to scratch,
No, I was on guitar
and
back
I was
then,
jamming with this other guy that was like an amazing drummer, and then Garreth was like, oh, we need a new drummer, and I was like, hey, I know this guy and he's mean as a double kick. I'm jamming with him and our band isn't that great, so maybe I'll throw him your way, but I have to be in the band. And then they're like, oh yeah, sweet. And that drummer is Woozle.
Yeah.
So, Evil Priest.
I've heard his name a million times from like Wadsy and stuff, but I
never met him?
haven't met him. No, one time, what's the bassist of Promise, his name?
I'm not sure. No. Because I kind of dipped out after that.
Yeah.
But like, I dipped out after Daredevil for a while. But so he was in My Two Cents, I think. No, what was Luke McPake's band?
Oh, it was My Two Cents, wasn't it?
Yeah. This Night Creeps.
Oh, yeah.
that's
Have you heard them?
I've heard the name.
Yeah, so This
But
Night
they
Creeps.
were a bit of a thing, weren't they?
Yeah, man, they were like
Did they go commercial and they
were like on 1157.
Yeah.
Luke's an amazing musician, like guitarist, singer, and like just this cool surfer dude from Rags, and he was like on. And so Wurzel drummed for them, and then he did the Red Shift with Pepe and Newbold.
Yeah.
And then I think he went on to Evil Priest, and then he was in the Wrong Men with Cash. But I introduced him to that scene. I met him through a friend, and the first time I ever saw this dude, we were setting up at Stage 7, and him and his mate were setting up the drums or whatever, and then they started playing Korn.
Oh, yeah, cool.
Like, you know that song Clown on the first album? He started playing this. And
I was watching a Korn live set last night. It auto-played, and I was just like, usually I'd skip it. I was just like, no, I'm not going to watch this.
Yeah, and I was watching him, and I was like, this dude can fucking play drums. I was like, this guy's on. And then so when Gareth started the band without me, I was like, I'm going to start a band. I'm going to get that guy. And then we turned it into Arcane. And that dude back then, he could just double kick like a motherfucker.
True.
Like, and there was nothing
this?
like 97.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
So this, I was wondering how this lines up with Jason's timeline, because I was also asking him, because he's been a drummer this whole time, like fucking going on 30 years. And I was like, I asked him a question like, when did double kick insert itself into like new NZHC?
Yeah.
Because he's just single kicking the whole time. So was he double kicking because of Korn? Who's like a new metal?
I think so, but we would just have riffs like, you know, like digga-da-digga-da-dan, and he would just match it with double kick. And,
no way.
To us, that was just like, holy fuck. Like, we'd never seen that before, you know what I mean? And so, and then I even think, you know, out of nowhere, this guy just appears in our band, and nobody's really heard of him before, and he's just fucking killing it. And people are like, who's that dude? You know what I mean?
Sick.
And
they
was
all stole him. No.
They did I mean, motherfuckers.
Yeah.
But it was, you know, that was really cool time.
Pardon this interruption. Judgment Day Productions. Judgment Day Productions is a YouTube channel ran by Matt Livingstone of Antagonist AD. He goes to live shows, he films them, puts them up online. So if you want to see New Zealand hardcore bands with great audio, great video cuts, head over to Judgment Day Productions. On Judgment Day Productions, we've got Drop Off Point sets. So Garreth and Bones band, Drop Off Point. If you haven't clicked, we've got them supporting Sick of It All. I'm going to leave the link below to the Judgment Day Productions Drop Off Point set at Sick of It All. Back to the pod.
And then Newbold from Shincaster was doing this band called Vargas at the time, a very slow, heavy stuff. We used to play a lot of shows with them. And then when Arcane kind of dissolved, then I started this band with called Daredevil with Newbold and Bennett.
So Newbold is boldest, right?
Boldest,
yeah.
So
I just want to add one thing before he starts. So the band that he started, because he was the youngest, you know, like we were like the younger crew in Hamilton. So he started, it was like an all-star hardcore band for him.
Oh, really?
He was like, we were all like
VIP
jealous.
NHL picks, eh?
We were like, hey.
Sick.
So even I was kind of like starstruck, like that I got to be in a band with the
yeah.
guys that accepted me as a kid. And like I looked up to like Shincaster, like how Gareth was saying.
They were
with
like the Hamilton,
you know, the pentagram
legends,
shirt.
yeah.
Like that was what, when we went to shows, that was like our like,
Shincaster
holy
was
fuck,
like,
that
that's
was
still
true.
on.
Yeah.
So being in a band with those two guys was like, all right, now let's fucking do some
that's
serious
awesome.
shit.
Yeah, for sure.
And then, we started like recording. We actually recorded like an album that never made it to vinyl. It was meant to be a vinyl, but it's on YouTube. And a funny story about Daredevil was that in 2012, when I was playing in Regime and stuff, Sam Crocker had never really like met me before.
Okay.
You know, so we're playing shows of Antag heaps around that because we had Izzy as Regime's drummer. So we're playing a lot of shows together.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you know, like Sam loves Ghidra. Like he fucking loves Ghidra.
I didn't know
And
that.
he goes, oh, and you know, like he was trying to tell me about Ghidra, which we grew up with.
Yeah.
And he goes, and Christian, the drummer from Ghidra, was the guitarist in this band Daredevil. I used to watch them when I was a kid when my sister took me to shows. And I was like, oh yeah, true. Yeah, they were pretty mean. And he's like, yeah, bro, they were fucking on. I was like, oh yeah, I was in that band. And then he was like, oh shit, because I think I kind of dipped in and out of the scene a lot. So when I appeared back in 2012, he just probably thought I was like a New Jack, you know what I mean? So like, that bugged him out a bit, but
that was at an Exile show, I think.
Yeah, it was like a Void show, Exile show, but I was just like...
I remember that show.
But I was kind of like, okay, that's pretty cool. I was like, did we kind of have some influence on him as a kid? Because we were quite heavy in that, 2000, 2001 era for that type of genre. Nobody was really doing it. And it was like very like disembodied, converge, like it was on.
Yeah.
And we got it. We played a lot of shows, but it was just like, I didn't really think about if we were influencing anybody or not. I was just kind of showing up, playing shows.
You don't think of it, eh? You really don't think of it until someone from a new band. It only ever happens to me when someone from a new, that's like usually younger, and they'll start a new band and they'll just pick out something that you did, or they'll be like, oh, like this. Yeah. And I did it similar to this, and they would kind of like ask you if you noticed it. Yeah. And it's hard because you don't actually, they're new face, you don't actually know them yet, but they've done something and directly influenced by them, and it's not until you go look at it and you're like, oh yeah. Yeah.
And after Daredevil like broke up and stuff like that, me and Garreth were talking about it, we still went to shows, like even though we weren't in bands like for periods of time, we would always appear at shows, you know what I mean? But like when Daredevil stopped, that's when like I think it was early maybe 2003, so we played a lot of shows with Evil Priest and DSM Somerset and all those type of bands and stuff like that. But then when we stopped, I think that's when your era started. That's like when Ryan Jordan and Dylan Walker took over, and they just carried the torch. Like
there's a brief area between 2000 and 2005, 2006 where we started though. That's where that crammed in Kill Me Quickly and Promise of Bloodshed and stuff, right? So there was that little...
So we actually played with Promise of Bloodshed. I didn't even know, but it was on a flyer, and I was like, holy shit.
When Promise like started is when I almost quit guitar. I was like, the level just stepped up. Like I was like, whoa,
100%.
Yeah, like I was like, man, I like tried to do a band similar called End of Days, and I think we did like 2 shows, and I just quit. Quit the band. I was like, but the level of bands when Promise started just.
You just kind of painted me a picture of like the evolution of metallic hardcore through hardcore.
For sure.
So if you're talking about when you guys first started and it was like Shinkasto, Balance, you got traditional hardcore, and then you guys started like Daredevil and Ghidra or whatever, and that was like metallic stuff based on Disembodied.
Yeah.
And then
Ghidra was super heavy, fast, like chaotic.
But carry on.
And then that next bit probably when Hatebreed started, and then brought Metallic, and then you mix like Metallic and Disembodied, and then you ultimately you probably get Promise of Blood.
I'd say like when At the Gates came out, Slaughter of the Soul, I reckon, man, music
Great
just
album.
changed, and I'd say like that's when like the whole metalcore thing sort of
But like what you said, I when I heard Promise, I was like, fuck, I play guitar like a caveman.
We were like, whoa, damn.
I tell you what about because obviously Boozy was playing guitar for that, and then Boozy's like real meticulous. Like when I played in bands with him, he's real meticulous on gear, playing it right, downstrokes, like how to actually play with each hand, for how your right hand plays it and how your left hand plays it on guitar and stuff. Like he really nailed that in. Yeah. And he was on forums getting like good gear and stuff. So it makes sense that the level of musicianship is like, we had a little bit of an effect in that band. I don't know the other guys. Like I'd never met Dread or Wadzy played. I think Wadzy played before Boozy and Promise, right? And then they got Boozy in. And I'm trying to think of what the bassist is called, but that recalls the bassist, whatever his name is. I was a coffee roaster.
Guy, bloody bassist. Nobody knows.
Before I was a bricklayer, before I was a personal trainer, I was a coffee roaster for like 14 years. Yeah. And inside our building was a whole lot of other franchises, and I wish Cookie is the drummer. I can remember everyone's from Promise of Bloodshed's name except for the bassist. He's got a name that ends with Y. It'll come to me. And he was working for another franchise, and they're just kind of cruising past and shit. And then I got a wind of his like full name, and I was just like, aren't you, insert name here?
Yeah.
And then, bro, he did not want to know anything about it. He did not want
Really?
to talk about old NZ hardcore. He didn't want to talk about Promise of Bloodshed. He didn't want to talk about
Damn.
anything to do with
Yeah.
like NZHC.
That happens with some people.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
mean, because I'd catch him because I was a warehouse worker. I was working as a roaster and stuff. He was inside, so you know, I was like a dog that could walk on two legs. Do you know what I mean? I was still a dog. So when you walked into the office, you know, you're still a dog. Yeah. So like, I tried to mark up some chats when I was making a coffee and shit, but I can remember him rejecting talking about anything to do with it like 3 times.
True.
Yeah.
That's
And then he
funny.
left without
Might have
saying
had a
goodbye.
bad experience or
True.
something.
I'm leaving this conversation.
But back to that era. It's funny how there's those micro eras. So like your guys, when you first started, that was like 96 to 2000s, and then when you guys had your cool bands, that was the early 2000s, and then now we're talking about the early 2000s, but before 2005. Can we quickly promise a bloodshed? And then where I enter the scene, that's where Brick vs Face and Antagonists and stuff is happening in the just past the mid 2000s. And there's just like these eras that seem so massive to everyone, and everyone talks about it, but it's just like this, like, if you were to turn a book, it's a page.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Do you know
it's
what
just
I mean?
a little moment in time. But
Yeah.
for those people coming in at that time, for us coming in at that time, it means so much to us. But like, it's just like when you first entered the scene, it means so much to you. And like people just entering the scene now, this time is going to be so much.
Yeah.
It's going to mean so much to them. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So like but yeah, it
Funny
might
to
be
think
just a
that
page, but it's very meaningful.
That third person's perspective, because you think, I'm about to tap out. I've been doing this for way too long. And then someone just turns up and thinks you're like real good.
Yeah.
And you're like, man, I would have ruined it for you.
Yeah. Let's keep going.
Yeah, everything's awesome. Yeah. Lifer. Yeah, I'm doing this for ages.
Because it'll be like, like someone will definitely be seeing Exile for the first time.
Yeah.
You know? And you're like, man, I've been doing this for ages. But they're super psyched on it. And you're like, yeah, this is what keeps me going. This is what I want to, that's why I want to do it, you know?
Well, one thing I always ask people is usually the people that I have on the couch are people that I know, because you can have a conversation. Like sometimes people will say, oh, get XYZ on, and like someone I've never met and someone who hasn't been playing, and like all good. But like one thing I do notice is since that time, skip forward to like 2015, probably, all of these bands that we've been talking about were only around for like 2 to 3 years.
Yeah,
sure.
100%.
And then now our bands have been around for like 5. Current bands are around for like 5 and still going. No one's really broken up. Who's had their last show? I mean,
exactly. Yeah, like
Pressure had their last show the other weekend, but they'd have been going for a couple of years. It wasn't.
No, they're doing their last show.
At Foundation Fest.
Foundation Fest. Yeah. But
So,
like what you say, that's probably been a band that's like just kind of been around for a couple of years. But you know, like I think back then you're like, oh, well, you know, with Daredevil, Newbold went to America for a holiday or something. It was like, and then he was kind of over it. So we're like, all right, the band's done. You know, now you'd just be like, oh, we'll pick it
Replace
up.
that person.
Or we'll pick it up when you come back, or you know. But like, Drop Off Point's been around since 2020 now. So you know, but there's like 4 years. But like, like what you say, like Daredevil, like Arcane, all that, maybe like 1.5 to 2 years tops. You know what I mean?
But sometimes those bands can make a big difference, like a big impact, you know, like there'll be like one band, they might have been around for 2 years, but they'll still get talked about, like, you know.
Balance.
Oh, bro, people, for you guys, it'll be like balance and stuff. And then for me, it seems like my peers, so the same guys that are the same age as me, but not playing in bands, they won't shut up about like The Burial. Like 2008 to 2010, like over 10 years ago. And you'd be like, like, all good. But like, what are you going to do? It's like going on about ex-missus. Like, she was mean. You know, all right.
But then there'll be kids. Then there'll be kids that'll be like, EXO will be that for them, you know. And then you would have had a band that you seen, like we're like Shincaster, you know, and everyone has that 1 or 2 bands that they will always remember. You know.
But for Bennett, the singer of Shincaster, we were like, oh, you should, you know, do da 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 da, and he's like, nah, don't want to know about it. He's just like. He's like, so he was a singer for Daredevil as well.
He does a lot of stuff behind the scenes for our scene and stuff, but like talking about Shincaster, but like he didn't really like Shincaster, or he did at the time, but as time went on, you know, he was like,
it's probably like old mate that,
like,
he doesn't want to forget it, but he's like, oh, you know, I could, to him, Daredevil was so much more better. And to me, I was like, nah, Shincaster was.
because that was the band we seen.
You know, even though I was in Daredevil, and
But that's
playing
going to
it, I
happen
was
to
like,
you, mate.
man.
The kids of this generation will be like, nah, EXO. You know, like,
Maybe there's a bit of a generational thing because when you guys talk about hardcore, because when I say the word hardcore, I actually just mean like all of core.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I've grown up where it just means like the same thing. But maybe before your guys, that's why it always comes into a bit of contentious arguments. Like hardcore actually kind of means something, and it was traditional. And you guys had like, when I meet the older guys, there's definitely like a value vibe attached to hardcore.
Yeah, 100%.
So like maybe when those bands did go, or like you can't get it out, for the lack of a word, for honor. Do you know what I mean? You can't keep it going because of honor or whatever. And then maybe when it comes to me, and then I'm just thinking, oh, well, if that person leaves, that person just doesn't want to be there. If they wanted to be there, they could be there.
Yeah.
And then they just don't want to be there. And you don't hold any ill will. You just like let it go. You just get someone else new, and then maybe
Come
doubling on that.
100%.
If I think that the band's going to end, my next band is actually, I'm still in the style.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So if I start a new band, it's gonna sound the same.
Yeah.
And I'm
yeah.
I'm gonna start from scratch. So
Yeah.
I mean, everyone's got different circumstances, but
Yeah.
that's my personal one. When people see members coming through, I'm just like,
Yeah.
well, I've actually still got more to say if I'm writing the music.
Yeah.
It's gonna sound the same.
the train's still
Why start
going.
from day one?
Yeah, so when I was
Yeah,
in
for sure.
Regime, I actually wrote For the Memories, which was 8 years before Drop Off Point.
Okay.
And I was like, check this riff. And we jammed it. And the boys were like, it's not really Regime. And I was like, all right, I'll sit on it.
Okay.
And then I
How was it not
revived
Regime? Because Regime was a flowy band.
Yeah, Regime was very like New York kind of hardcore type stuff. But it was very like, For the Memories as a kind of two-step chuggy type thing. Yeah. But my response to that was when they were like, oh, it's not very Regime. I was like, what are you talking about? We are Regime. We can write whatever we want. You know what I mean? But then, so I was like, okay, I'll just sit on that riff. And like what you said, like, okay, that dissolved. And then years later, I'm going to make that band years later. You know what I mean? And
if
it worked.
If it's your IP, if it's your stuff, like, I bet people are just like rewriting their old riffs and stuff. And like, I actually find it kind of hard to write vocals. And I think if I ever did another band, or I was doing two bands at the same time, I just like write the same song but different again, and no one could come back at you and be like, "Hey, you can't do that." You're like, "Oh, what? I can't use my own stuff."
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like your IP, like you can have that and recycle it.
Yeah,
and especially if you've got a different drummer, bro, you could play a whole song. You could play a whole song kind of the same. And if you had a different drummer,
but
the song would be different, and a different drummer and a different vocalist. And if they hadn't heard the previous version, you'd get something completely different.
Yeah. We played, we cover Hamtown Smackdown from Vendetta. And, a few people were like, why'd you change the lyrics? And I was like, because I can. Yeah. I was like, I was in that band, like it's all for it. It's just, it's just a bit of fun.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to take anything away from the band. I was just kind of like playing the same riff, but different.
Did only one person notice too? You're like, brother, you're the only person who noticed that.
Yeah. But Hamtown Crew, I guess we could have done Hamtown Crew Here to Stay. Yeah. But I was like, it was actually Sean Brown, who was...
he came to practice.
He came to practice and so he was like, do you guys know Hamtown Smackdown? We're like, of course we do. So we played it, and then we played it, and then he was like, you guys should say DOP Here to Stay instead of Hamtown Crew Here to Stay. And we're like, that's a fucking great idea, mate. And then we just ran with it, so it wasn't like, let's change the lyrics. Yeah. But that song's so much fun to play. But it's like an old song, but for us, we were just carrying on the legacy.
It pops off in Hamilton. Yeah. It's cool to see in Hamilton where it's actually happening. It's awesome.
Yeah, and we get...
It means nothing to me.
Exactly.
But like, I can see it means so much to you guys.
When we were like teenagers,
awesome.
that song, like, it meant a lot to us. So,
100%.
So
Cool.
Andre, like, it was sort of our anthem, I guess.
Yeah.
That's like 369, that's your anthem.
Straight up.
I'd be like, Grafton Crew, Here to Stay.
Yeah. Everyone's like,
I'm not from there, bro.
I'd still sing it, mate.
369 it's just the first. It's just the first three numbers of my parents' telephone number.
Oh, is it?
It happens to be the Grafton phone code. Not that anyone's got a landline anymore, but like, 369's Grafton.
Yeah, man.
But
great song.
So did you have so Bones talked about joining a band with the two Shincaster dudes. Did you have a similar moment where you...
End of Days?
Yeah, so End of Days, Luke Flintoff was in that. I'd say he's probably the only guy that went on to, like, he joined 21 Guns after.
And the break-in.
And the break-in, sorry.
But he didn't play in the break-in last weekend, did he?
No, he lives in America now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but he was the main riff writer for the break-in.
I can remember his face, quite like a thin frame guy, right?
Yeah. Slick back here.
Yeah.
But we had a guy, AJ Paul, on vocals. But it just, like, that was transitioning into a different style of hardcore, and I just wasn't really into it at the time.
I never heard of End of Days.
That's good.
Yeah.
Never ever. That's great.
Do you know what's... There was
we did,
actually like a
2
West
shows or
Auckland
something.
Christian metalcore band called End of Days. Yeah, and they were like technical, kind of like melodic metalcore.
We were like technical, melodic metalcore. I'm not really too technical because I was on guitar, but but didn't
Caveman
really
hardcore, bro.
Caveman technical.
Yeah.
And then I just wasn't into it, so I left. Yeah, and then he joined. I started 21 Guns after that, I think, or did they do? Yeah, that might have been after that.
Or was it?
Was he in Bare Knuckle Brawl? Not sure.
Yeah.
All I know is after Promise of Bloodshed, all the youth bands were amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
they like
One
kicked
Must
our
Fall.
ass.
They were like
when the Jordan brothers come in there and the insertion of like
they
double
just
knuckles.
destroyed.
And,
yeah, because I remember they all used to skate with me, and they were a little bit younger than me. Dylan and that used to hang out with me, and then, man, I moved to Tauranga, and like that's when shed shows were popping off, and then all
so that's one thing we haven't touched on this podcast is the Bay of Plenty hardcore scene. So I grew up in a Hopi Beach and Whakatane and stuff, but I moved to Auckland and got into music.
I never went to any.
So what was happening when Brick vs. Face was going on about Bay of Plenty?
This is before Brick. So when I first met HD Steve and Steve Tiplady, we'd all skate together. So he was like the drummer of Brick, and we'd skate together, they'd listen to punk, and I'd listen to hardcore. And then I moved to Auckland for work, and that's when Brick was birthed. And then I moved back, and then boom, shed shows were there. Brick was popping off. There was a me in Hamilton.
And what's the shed?
The shed was crazy. It was just like this random abandoned like shed in town. They had no permission to play there. They'd put on shows with like a generator out the back, and man, there was some big shows there. Cops would turn up, people would be drinking piss outside. They didn't care. It was just cops would move on. There was no drama. Most of them that ran it were straight edge. So.
And how long did that go for? Because I remember Antagonist would have played at shed shows. I remember them talking about that back in the day.
So it went. Oh, maybe I don't know how long it went for. Maybe like 8 shed shows or maybe 10. But then there was like a that venue sort of closed. It wasn't really a venue, but it closed down. And then they did like a alleyway show or something. And then not too long after that, it sort of died out. And I think most people were just traveling to Hams for shows. Yeah, but I know that
we've got a lot of photos of those shed shows, and there's a photo of the generator and stuff.
Yeah, that was a good time, man. It was really cool. Like, but a lot of young people though.
But I think what Gareth's not touching on is that coming from his background, he introduced a lot of people to hardcore. You know what I mean? Like HD Steve wasn't into hardcore or anything like that back then, eh? Like
he's still a punk.
About it,
he's probably more into punk.
But and that's where Gareth met Jesse Larson, which is who we sing about in Papamoa Alleyways, who's passed away now, but he was he's a very kind of like infamous kind of character, or not infamous, but like almost like mythical, because he was just like he looked and lived and breathed that punk life, eh? But Gareth knew him
when I met him. He was like in a youth band. He was straight edge, and then he was doing shed shows and stuff like that. And then not maybe like a year or two after he became a crust punk, and he was mostly living in Wellington, doing like he did like a grindcore band called Cast Grinder, which was pretty good. He did Lagerlouts, which was like a oi punk band that was really good. But so
I think you influence a lot of people from the Bay of Plenty.
I'm not too sure. I think that, like, to be honest, like back then I was just in the shadows, really. I'm on the photos of the shed shows and the Tauranga shows, but it was more like Dylan's era. You know, they were all doing.
Because I'm perplexed by the Bay of Plenty scene that it used to exist, because
it was crazy. It just happened overnight.
Yeah, it's like a strange place for. Did it have like a similar explosion? You remember when like Ricky Bobby was playing like Palmerston North, and there'd be like those shows in the garage and shit, and then as soon as they quit, like it was like Palmy was another ghost town. Was it just like kind of like a Bay of Plenty, like a pop-up shop for a couple of years?
Sort of, but there was like some like there were some shows. I know Antag and Saving Grace were doing shows in Tauranga, but it was more like bar shows. I remember bumping into Vasily when he was a big boy. They had just played a show in town. Did you used to play with Antag back then? It's like a little bar.
Joined
with a
Antag
little,
like 2012.
Oh yeah, but there was still like shows, but it was different. And maybe there was a couple of church shows, like where they had hardcore shows in like a church venue or something out the back, but it wasn't like the shed. Yeah, it was like maybe like a year or something where it was popping off. But yeah, and then there was kind of nothing. And then I think there was like, I remember seeing the Warpath, maybe it was their CD release in like a hall in Greaton. That was pretty good. And that was probably one of the last shows I went to for about, I think there was about a 5-year gap where I stopped going to shows unless it was like an international one.
Yeah.
But yeah, just because me and Dylan back then had a little bit of beef, so...
Oh, yeah?
Yeah,
like,
a little bit of beef. Like, they were my friends, and then I kind of turned into a bit of a drunk at shows, and it wasn't that fun to be
but like,
so,
even if you take it back more than that, like, I remember showing up at one of Gareth's flats, and Dylan was there, like a young Dylan.
Yeah.
You know, and I remember you saying to me, you're like, hey, he's just started a band, and he's going to turn straight edge.
Okay.
Like, that's, you know, like, pre-tats... everything, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was like, and I was just selling out at the time, and I was like, oh, bro, you don't want to fucking do that.
Yeah.
And look at him now, he's still fucking straight edge. Yeah, bro, yeah. And I'm trying to tell this young cat not to be straight edge, but then he fucking became what he became, you know, and set that scene on fire, you know what I mean?
Yeah, he did it with his, he was really, from my remembrance of him, because Warpath was, pretty sure I saw Warpath. Yeah, supporting Parkway Drive at that upstairs venue. Might have been Upset or something like that, with Josh playing bass, and didn't eventually like, some of the Cry Wolf guys play like drums. Was the singer the drummer of Warpath?
I'm not sure. I never really
or?
saw Cry Wolf. Mikey was in Cry Wolf, from Standover.
Yeah, I think it was Jeremy. Well, maybe it was the drummer. Oh no, maybe that Bruce. I don't really know, but I remember Dylan, yeah, so he was a bit of a hothead too, because I come 100%. Into the scene as like a BMXer, and we had like a mutual friend, Mike Davies, and I think back then I was into the music, but I was like also so like foreign, but I loved it. Yeah. But I was just like a normie to everyone. I still am. Like, look at you, cunts. Look at all your fucking. I don't know who's been doing that to you.
Man, I'm
didn't happen to me.
Jaws all over me.
I scribbled on him.
But I've been like a normie since day one, and particularly back then, I was going to shows with like my BMX mates, and I had a couple. I was only kind of like friends with like the emos or whatever, but I'd turn up to the hardcore shows, and I remember it used to like irk him. It used to just like irk him that I was like normie. You know what I mean? And like
bro, but
I would say the Hamilton scene back then, it was like, it wasn't a fun place for me. Like, we had so much fun, and then I feel like when I was going to shows back then, it was similar. Like, I felt like an outcast in my own scene. So I was like,
well, we felt like we sold out.
You know what I mean? Like, because I used to be straight edge, and then when I kind of sold out, a lot of the songs were about sellouts, and you know, they were looking at me when they were singing. Nah, just kidding. But so I didn't feel like friendly, and a lot of our friends sort of weren't going to shows, so I kind of only went to the internationals. But I feel there was a bit of a funny. It was like, I mean, if you were an outcast back then, it was pretty hard.
Yeah,
to be,
like I would pop up. You know, I would just pop up randomly at shows and stuff like that. But I was always, I felt like myself as a normie. You know what I mean? I was in all these bands, but I never felt myself as being like this over exuberant character. You know what I mean? I felt like I always just kind of stood back, and I just wanted to play guitar and stuff like that. For sure. So whenever I went to shows, everybody was really cool with me because I was never trying to be like, oh, you're playing because I fucking paved the way. I was never like that, you know. I was just like, everybody was just super cool with me because I was just like super chill, and just, I didn't, you know, all I wanted to do was just be in the background and watch, you know what I mean? So all those guys like were super cool with me, and I know that Dylan's you know, made a name for himself and did all that, but I'll tell you what, bro, like whenever I fucking kicked it with Dylan, he was always a fucking super nice guy. He was always like super nice to me, and like he went out with this girl that I know, and then he would show up randomly at Waihi Beach with her, and we would just chat for ages, and he was always just a super cool guy. Like, I know he's got a rough exterior, but he's actually like really fucking cool guy. You know what I mean?
We might have hit, same as me. Like, we might have had like a few years where we might not a lot of, like, we didn't really get on. But apart from that, like, say like when I went to LA, he was like, "Where are you? Oh, there's a show on. Sebulba's playing tonight. I got you on the door."
Sick.
You know, I was like, in a rental car, 2.5 hours, don't know where I'm driving. But he's always been a good bugger. Apart from like, you know, like when you're young, no way, like.
Yeah, hey, you're just
Things
young and
are different
hot-headed.
when
Like
you're
what you
young.
said, he's just a hothead. And Auckland and Hamilton used to have these cricket and rugby league games. Auckland versus Hamilton.
Hardcore.
Hardcore.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That was
and
a good era.
I copped a little bit of the end of that. We'd play like touch rugby in Hamilton when we went down, or like there'd be like a basketball game or something.
Yeah, I think
to
Dylan
have,
and that used to do all the basketball stuff. Yeah.
cups and stuff. Like,
Really?
You know, yeah.
Yeah.
So we would play.
Who was
with,
any
like,
good?
Bro, like, I
Michael Kidgley.
remember smacking Angelo around the park.
Because
From the
everyone
bleeders, he was in, and they put me in 8th, and because they were like, "You're not going to do any good. You're not going to do any good, Bones." And I went in there actually fucking at real good.
Don't mess with
batting
or
session.
help a cricket
And I
player.
was
over here,
smacking
mate.
Angelo around the park. It was pretty funny. But then it was like there was a cup and everything. But what I'm trying to get at is that later on, Dylan and that were playing those shows, and he would get out and be like, fuck this and blah blah, and everybody's like, calm down, Dylan. You know, like he was just a hothead, but that was just him. You know what I mean? Like just super nice guy, but yeah, he's got that rough exterior. But
fly off the handle. Eh?
Yeah, but it was hilarious, and he's just fucking super cool anyway. So yeah,
I remember this one house party, bro. We were watching the election. It was the election of like John Key. So like we're all at Moff's house, and you know how like all like the hardcore scene is like quite lefty or whatever. And I just like, I'm not interested in anything, right? Like I'm just BMX into cars, and I would have drove my RX-7, my drift car, to the party.
Yeah.
And we're all in this room watching the election. I don't know why. I don't know. We're at Josh Moffat's house, and everyone was wanting. I don't know who John Key was going against that year, but the whole room was for, let's say, it must have been Labour. The whole room was for Labour, and I could feel it in the air. And I was just like, and I just used to rack it up. So I just get fucking, let's go national, you know? And the whole party, I was like, go national, Team Key, all this shit. We were watching the election, bro, and it went to countdown, and it was like 3, 2, 1, and it just goes, John Key wins national, bro, and the whole room's silent, and I just erupt, yeah! And before I could stop screaming, I got the spear tackle like straight in the guts. I flew across the room, and it was just Dylan. He grabbed me by the throat, and he was like, shut the fuck up.
Damn, Dylan.
Bro,
just doing it just to be crack up.
yeah. Hardcore's meant to be about like not supporting fucking anyone.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
no sides.
Oh, bro, it's so funny. But that's my funny, like, how like his eyes were like about to pop out of his head and shit, like full red veins in his forehead. And I was trying not to spill my beer, you know, on the ground, like, oh,
Didn't spill it.
yeah. But
That's all I care about. I didn't spill it.
See, I didn't know that side of him. I just used to kick it with him, and you know, it was just like always super humble. I remember walking down Queen Street, and this guy comes up to him and he goes, you know, Dylan's got all the throat tats and stuff, and he goes, ooh, what does your mum think about those, bro?
Yeah.
And like without skipping a beat, he goes, yeah, she wasn't too pumped, eh?
because
And
it's
the
like
dude cracked up, and I was just like, oh yeah, fucking, this dude's pretty crack up, you know?
it's a tiger with an upside down crucifix through its mouth and throat or
fuck.
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never really, like-
I think the true story is that his mum cried.
Sorry, mum.
All right, this cunt's getting a bit too much fucking airtime, though.
yeah.
All right,
cut
all right. We're back after having a couple Jack Daniels, and
Jack
I want to know Jack Daniels. It's feeling like a couple Jack Daniels. So I can tell you that much. All right, let's steer this conversation into one of the funnier things. Tell me about someone in Cease and Desist's dad.
Right. So we show up at Hamtown Smackdown, and it's this guy with the beanie on, long ginger hair, and I just knew these guys were like first timers, and I was like, straight up, I go to anybody straight away and I'm like, hey, how's it going? I'm Bones, blah, blah. And Cohen goes, you used to be in a band with my dad. And I was like, no shit. I was like, who's that? And he goes, Bryce Pritchard. I was like, oh my God. I was like, I feel old.
That's crazy.
You know, so like I'd been in a band with Cohen's dad when Cohen was born.
Yeah.
And I'm still here now playing music and he's killing it. So we made an instant connection, you know, like, and those dudes are just super cool. I've seen everybody talk about them on this podcast and they're just like so well received and they're just really good kids. You know what I mean? They just like kill it. They're great musicians and they're just there to have fun. You know, and like, and they just, to me, straight away, I just got their vibe and I was like, man, these guys are on. And then they played and they killed it. And I was just like, man. And then from that point on, I was just like sending them hardcore bands to listen to. And they just like instantly love like Tsunami and all those type of bands and stuff like that. But they just... they're just like taking over, bro. So like,
his dad must be so happy, like seeing like the next generation.
I talked to them. I talked to Bryce and Shane, who was in Black Heart and Devil with me all the time at shows. Like, I make a beeline for them because I love them. You know what I mean? They're like stand-up guys.
So like, for me as an uncle, like seeing like Joe do Brawler. Yeah. Oh, it's like, so like if that was your child. You know, next generation.
That's so cool. When you told me about that, I had no idea. And I was like, because I've been championing Cease and Desist when they come out of the gate. I was like, they come out of the gate strong. And I was like,
strong.
It was fresh, you know.
Shout out to them, man. And they're just like, I always get Cohen. I always get Cohen on guitar for Hamtown Smackdown. Yep, that's it. I always get Cohen on guitar for Hamtown Smackdown because I know that like we talked about before, the guys that were coming before us were super humble, and that's what I want to be to all the youth bands and stuff like that. And I just tell him, come on stage, bro. And he grabbed the guitar. We played Under the Bridge in Tauranga, and he fucking
which is a show.
I saw that. Yeah.
He didn't even practice with us or anything. He knew the song, and I was like, hey, is Cohen here? Does he and then he came up and I gave him my guitar and he smashed it. Sick. So every time now I get him to finish the show and the drummer gets up on the mic, you know that guy.
The best crowd calls.
He's like, he's like in the breakdown, come on, motherfuckers. He's so good. I love those guys.
That's great.
Those guys are on, bro. And I love those kids. And they're carrying the torch for like, we've gone to shows and I'll just stand in the background and I'll watch them play Hamtown Smackdown. Yeah. And they'll say the DOP lyrics and stuff like that, and everybody gets into it. One time they asked me to play, and I was like, no, I just want to sit back and watch. Yeah. And then the other time they asked me to play, like, spontaneously, and I got up and I was like, give me the bass. Yeah. I don't want to get on the mic. Give me the bass. And then I grabbed Cohen's bass and played that. And that was super cool because they are speaking to a whole generation of their youth, you know what I mean? And those kids fucking love them, and they rep BCHC so hard.
Shout out to the Bridge City hardcore scene.
Oh,
Sam and Joe,
hour into it.
Loza, yeah.
But like what Garreth said, like with Brawler and stuff like that, it's like I've known Garreth for so long that we watched Joe and Sam grow up. Like, so I don't know if
Joe,
you know, but
Joe's always like been in bands since he was like 13. But like seeing him do Brawler's cool. You know, getting to do shows with my nephew, that's definitely a buzz. Yeah, shout out to those fellas.
But like, people don't know that Sam and Joe are twin brothers. You know what I mean? And Garreth has influenced them since like day one, and they've been like. Blood
they
for
were
Blood.
Like 5 years old. Listen to Blood for Blood. They're like,
so we watched them go from this big to destroying it on stage. You know what I mean? So it's so cool to see. But this has all been from this dude's influence. But like, shout out to Sam because Sam schools us up on all the fucking hardcore. He knows more than
definitely Sam.
Anyone,
knows more.
Bro.
I'm like, I knew that band. Note it down. Go learn everything
he
about it.
He is definitely just a true hardcore guy through and through. Like
for
he
sure.
he like he's diehard. Like he'll go and search out the demos and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And he's always so we make a point of getting Sam on stage to fucking just sing with us. And I think he's starting a band with Mikey from Drop Off Point.
Yeah,
and
so they've got like a side project called Homefront 07, but there's a new band called Homefront, so they might have to change their name. But they've been doing some recordings, some pretty good riffs from Lingard. Shout out to Lingard.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's gonna be cool, bro. Like if Sam pops it off, like his you know, his intensity allows him to, it'll
It's
fucking
got a good
pop
voice
off, bro.
for sure.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Shout out to
That's
Sam.
rad.
Love you, brother.
Yeah, those two bands, Cease and Desist and Brawler, have made the most impact on me, like of
that's
like
good.
recent bands.
Yeah.
Because they're just unapologetically them.
Yeah,
Yes.
sure.
Like, so many
Definitely.
people
Yeah.
wish-washing around trying to appease
Yep.
to
feel you.
other people,
Yeah.
and someone just stands out and just puts a stake in the ground and says, this is what we're fucking doing.
Yeah, we're playing
This is
Last
what we
Place
sound
Bar.
like.
Yeah.
When we played
If you
Last
don't
Place
like it, you
Bar.
can-
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and that was it. We played Last Place Bar and they were like, hey, can you guys tone it down? And fucking
Who?
Joe.
Cease and Desist?
No,
No.
John,
Brawler.
the owner from Last Place.
Oh, yeah.
And so Joe was like, we were told to tone it down. Everybody fucking get crazy. And I was just like, oh, bro. Like, and it just went fucking
That is
nuts,
good, but
you know?
yeah, that can be
it's
bad
cool.
as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. It's like,
Shout
it's
out
good
to
to
all
see
the
though.
venue owners that let us play shows there. Eh?
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
shout out
to John.
and Last Places.
Yeah,
Last Place is
good.
amazing.
Well, I had
Place
no
is
idea what was happening at Last Place. I saw you guys playing Last Place, blah, blah, blah. And then I saw it in a couple photos and I was just like, this place looks like tiny and I can't figure out. It's in a bar that serves like food and stuff. And then I
Yeah.
finally made it. I think the first show I went there was the show I played.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
since then, I've only booked shows there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because I was
Yeah,
always
bro.
playing shows at Navarra or whatever.
Yeah.
Nah,
Then I got to
Last
Last
Place
Place.
is like,
Because you can have a feed after.
yeah,
and-
man.
Yeah.
That's and
Smash
you can
burgers, mate.
smash burgers
Smash
at Last
burgers.
Place. Yeah, 1 a.m. in the morning. That's why it's called
You
Last
need a
Place.
photo of a smash burger. Nah.
Let's,
Yeah, but it's cool.
let's bring it into NZHCPP. So you guys have got like a documentation of New Zealand hardcore, which kind of
Definitely.
circles the facets of a website with interviews, with a zine, with promoting old music, with making vinyls of legacy bands.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's pretty obvious where it origins from is passion, but
Yeah,
give
like-
me a little bit of
Everything that we talked about previously leads up to this moment, and I'll let Gareth kick it off because he started it. I didn't start it. You
I might have
started
started it, but it's been right from the get-go. It's been like a team effort, but it's just been like pretty much we didn't know where we were going to head. We started off documenting like old hardcore from New Zealand because that was like an era where there was no internet. So there was like a big 10-year gap, like where there was like no photos, no music online.
But everybody had photos in their garage, in their
Yeah,
shoe
for
boxes,
sure. Shoe
and videos
boxes.
in the shoe boxes. of
VHS,
everything.
just like tapes of footage, terrible recordings, but we,
It needed to be preserved.
yeah, definitely needed to be preserved. And
because it would have just lost it, right? Because like
yeah, for sure.
you gave your hard drive to Caleb from Existence,
Yes.
and then that's all there.
Yeah,
sure.
so like what happened was I wasn't back then. It would have been about 2011, 2012. I wasn't really computer savvy, but at the same time, me and Gareth were reaching out to everybody. We already had a stack of old CDs and tapes, and I was backing them up into Logic Pro and just putting them into digital format. I was scanning all the CD covers, the inlays, everything. And then because I wasn't computer savvy, I showed up at Handtown Smackdown with my laptop. And I was like, we made a sign. Bring your hard drive and I will give you everything I have. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Yeah. And it was a lot. And then so Caleb and Rob show up at my house probably a couple of days after Smackdown and they're like, okay, can we have all this? And I was like, sure, of course you can. And then he uploaded on Google Drive. And I was like, holy shit. I was like, why didn't I think of that? But at the same time, I was like, here's another guy that loves hardcore as much as me, that's got that little bit more knowledge that's going to put it to the masses. And it was... and
It's kind of great having a team.
It was,
It's kind
and
of good
I-
seeing other people put, it's
yeah,
just 'cause
and then he put it. So he started putting shit on Spotify and stuff like that too. So that was cool. But
Yeah,
the
and their
Google Drive
Existence
links.
Yeah,
Productions,
Existence
things on
Productions,
Spotify,
man.
yeah.
Yeah, it's cool to see other people putting in work for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So did NZPP start with a website or did it start with the zine?
nah.
Or?
So what happened was it was like we kind of took it as far as we could on like socials, and then we thought we'd do some old school merch. So we started reprinting like old school band t-shirts and stuff. So we made a website for that,
Yeah.
and pretty much
That was
a
what
home
Garreth
for
and
our home for our interviews. So it started off, we're like, okay, we're doing interviews with bands, and then we decided that we'd make a zine with help from Bones' niece, Dactyl. So yeah, pretty much it's just been like evolution of NZHCPP really. Yeah. We haven't really, we've just had goals and it's just becoming something really.
Yeah.
Like we
The
didn't.
like I think the first thing we were talking about, like maybe in 2012 or 2013, Garreth come back to Hamilton after being in Tauranga for a lot of years. Was like we were just, so we reconnected after a lot of years, and we were just having beers and stuff like that. Yeah, love you,
I'm going to
mate.
zoom in when you're doing that.
Yeah.
But
Reconnected.
yeah. But at the same time, we were just having a few beers, and we were like, "Fuck, man! Imagine if we had Balance on vinyl. You know, how cool would that be? Like, you know, because we both collect vinyl. We're like big vinyl collectors.
Yeah.
They
And we're
never
like,
made vinyl.
No,
Nah.
just CDs.
Oh, they did have a 7-inch, with like.
But that was years
for sure,
ago.
but not
Yeah.
So were they part of like the CD era? You know, when CDs were massive, selling them in the
Yeah,
gas
yeah,
stations and shit.
100%.
So
Yeah.
they ditched vinyls and they're like CDs hot. I'm
Yeah,
making
CDs
Yeah.
all day, every day.
Yeah,
You know what I
okay,
mean?
yeah.
And then it was just like,
That band was like, the reason why we talk about Balance so much is that band did so much for New Zealand hardcore.
Yeah,
Like they were
100%.
playing like stadiums, like they played at like Warped Tour, Big Day Out.
yeah.
They and
Warped Tour in
Pennywise-
America. They
Pennywise-
did American tours.
oh no, they had one Warped Tour in New
And
Zealand.
Waihi,
it
of all places.
Yeah,
What?
They had a Warp
Yeah.
Tour in Waihi.
Didn't know about that.
Bro, Cherry Pop and Daddies. Yeah, Balance played, DSM played on the
Yeah.
second stage. Shit, who else played? Yeah, Pennywise played. And Pennywise, at that point, they said they were breaking up, and Pennywise begged them not to break up because they wanted them to play on their tour. But they were like, no, we're breaking up. And it was like, so they were getting pretty massive, man. So like, it was kind of our selfish like needs. We were like, imagine if we had this shit on vinyl.
Yeah.
And then so we were like, reached out to Dean from Metric System Records, who had just done Ghidra. So we knew he had the capabilities of doing the vinyl. And he was like, kind of like one and done. And then we were like, nah, we can get the sales, bro. And we
So we reached out to Reese as well, who like pretty
Yes.
much wrote most of Balance, but he's living in Texas.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So he's in like some pretty big bands. Roger Moret and the Disasters, which is
Alligators.
and Alligators, which has got the singer from Agnostic Front.
True.
And stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And,
Wow.
Yeah.
and they've got one of the Bruisers members. And it wasn't the drummer from Wisdom.
Oh, Luke.
Yeah, he was in one of his bands.
I think he was in the Disasters.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, yeah.
So
But
we reached out to him, and then we made it happen pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. They were all for it. We also reached out to Ben Lithberg, who was the drummer of Balance as well.
Oh, yeah.
And Ben lives in LA as well, and he went on to. First, he took sick of it all round, and then he was the drum tech for them, and then he was the drum tech for Rancid, and then he drummed for a band called Snapcase, who was very big on
Which
Victory
was
Records.
huge. Snapcase was like
Snapcase was
I
like
hear that name
Snapcase
going
was a
around.
massive
sort of like
band. So like
Turnstile, I guess. Like
yeah,
that
like
big.
but back then, so it was like Earth Crisis, Strife, Snapcase. You know what I mean? So a Kiwi guy drumming for Snapcase was insane. And then so when we reached out to him, he was just totally cool with us. Like I think they were just more astonished that we were like willing to spend our money to release a record. You know what I mean? So they
and it meant
they
a
gave
lot
us,
to them, eh? Like that, it meant like they're like, "Whoa, you still remember our band. They were so happy, and it's great.
And so we released it, and we released 100 copies, and
it sold out in like an hour.
Wow.
Yeah,
crazy.
This guy Sam
was it
like
New Zealand, or did you see some overseas, or
a few from overseas, but mainly New Zealand.
Geez, so a lot of old boys that made that much impact.
Sure. So starting this whole New Zealand hardcore past and present thing was like so many people that are in the background that are watching us that we don't really think that are watching us. They just, when we release those vinyls, they just snap them up.
Yeah, we're kind of lucky,
so
really.
So then
there are a lot of people that you don't see in the comment section, though.
Yeah,
like when I went on the Alpha Wolf tour last week, and they're like, "Oh man, podcast is going hard."
Yeah,
it's like, shot, bro.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So like,
see,
it's people that don't comment,
because
most of the comments are people who want to say something negative, but the positive people, they stay quiet, and then when they see you there, or they're all
in person, man.
Yeah,
that's
cool.
it. And like, so that Balance vinyl sold out. So New Zealand hardcore past and present kind of made our mark. Like that was our goal. We were like, okay, cool. We've done this. We talked about it years ago, having beers. Yeah. We've done it. And then we didn't reach that point and go, cool. We were like, what's next?
Yeah, so with like Dean's behind the scenes, he's been a real help with like releasing these record vinyls or whatever. And we're already talking about our next 2 vinyls. So
yeah,
he's so,
because you just sold out of the Evil Priest ones, right?
But
Evil Priest
but
ones.
before that, so Balance, and then we released our band Drop Off Point. We released 100 copies, and we were joking on the way up. There's this guy, I won't say his name, he like came up to me and he was pretty smashed, and he was like at this festival, and he was like, you guys need to fucking tour your vinyl if you want to sell all 100 copies, blah blah blah. And I was like, really, bro? I was like, we've already sold fucking half of them. Yeah, you know what I mean? And then we released a promo
we didn't even
video.
get to do a release show, and they were sold.
So we didn't do a release show, we didn't do a headline tour, nothing. They just sold out.
That's awesome.
And it was cool. And then cool. And then so Cash got wind of us having some good sales, and the one band that people wanted to hear was Evil Priest.
Yeah, it was one of the most Evil Priest and Promise.
Who should we do next?
Reason.
Evil Priest.
Yeah.
And then it was like, okay, and then Cash was like, I'm all on. And then we rigged it that so like the first album was on side A, the second album was side B, and then we were like, okay, let's go for 150 copies.
Yeah.
And it just fucking sold out like within 7 days. We released the video, and I kid you not, we released the video on a Tuesday, and the next Tuesday it was sold out. And we get,
it's kind of scary, eh? Like you don't know if like it's kind of like, well, it's kind of a risk, really, isn't it?
Such a big investment.
Yeah, and especially when you're releasing old bands, and you don't know if it's going to be.
Yeah, we're not making any money on this, and I don't know, like, and I think Cash and all those guys in Evil Priest think that they know we're not making any money on this. We just want to preserve the history,
love,
you know what
sure.
I mean? And then they see the
one day we'll make some money.
But they see the genuine love for hardcore that we do, and they're like, okay, cool. We get a vinyl out of it, they get a vinyl out of it, and all the fans get to have this cool keepsake that they never thought they were ever going to get. And so it's so cool to be able to do that, and they just sold out, and we got people sleeping on the day. They were like, oh, can I get another one?
Snoozing.
Like, nah, Bolt, it's gone.
Like,
we told you not to sleep.
So
like, and then they're like, I had a few messages, and people like, you should release da-da-da, da-da-da. And I was like, yeah, but we have to be guaranteed the sales.
Yeah.
Because we have to make that money back for Dean.
Yeah.
Like, it's not our money, it's Dean's money from Metric System. And
shout out to Dean. Dean from Metric. And his brother Sean Brown.
And
OG.
Sean Brown.
Yeah.
It would
Hamilton
never happen.
Hardcore.
Cam there.
Oh, sorry. OG.
That's the group cam.
Oh,
We're all in this one. You're in
Yeah.
that one.
Any of them.
Yeah.
But it would,
I'm in that one.
but it would not happen without Dean. So like, you know, like, I don't know, man. Like, you know what it's like, bro. We don't make money off this hardcore stuff, and we're not doing it for money. We're just doing it to preserve the legacy, and I think that's what New Zealand hardcore, past and present, is trying to do. Is like we just want to go, hey, you know, like the scene that all you bands are in now. Like, go to our YouTube channel or have a look at all the awesome fucking bands that have paved the way. You might not like all of them, but you might like listen to them and go, I like that band. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So a standout for me was the Break-In. You know what I mean? Like listening to all these bands and was just like, I love the break-in. You know what I mean? And they're not on. Oh no, they are on Spotify.
No, they just made a new Instagram.
Yeah, and Caleb from Existence put them on Spotify.
That's right.
For sure.
Yeah.
One thing I will say about New Zealand hardcore past and present is, you know how there was like a big gap where like there was a big lull in New Zealand hardcore, and I feel like we kind of want
2015, 2014 to 2024.
I kind of pretty much, but I kind of want to have like the foundations of New Zealand hardcore. So if you're getting into it, you're like, okay, this is just pure hardcore, you know, like everything. If you need to know anything, we've got information, you know, the zine or online, like the past stuff. And it's real important to not get confused with, you know, like because there was like no band or, you know, nothing happening for ages. It's like, I want everyone to know like this is hardcore. You know what I mean? It's like, that's not hardcore. You might think it's hardcore, but
like
sort of like a foundation for the scene.
Even if it was in a lull and it pops off again, it was all that shit back then.
Yeah, for sure. Like that is,
you can go discover that shit because we've fucking put it up there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so it's sort of like I want it to be like a home,
It is, and
New
it's
Zealand
like,
hardcore home. Like
you know,
if you want to learn about it,
like
the
the hip hop history is like, oh, you know, this band paved the way, and or this hip hop group paved the way, and this, and like Wu-Tang and blah blah blah. It's like, that's what it's like for us. You know what I mean? Like those bands like Balance and Quickslide and
Exile.
Gift. Yeah.
Well, you've been in how many bands now?
Yeah, bro.
Most of your bands have been.
Few
bands are paving the way.
Big New zealand hardcore bands.
So you want to, cement that. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not built on dreams. You know what I mean? It's like built on hard fucking work and people losing money and breaking even.
Yeah, like this podcast, everything, a lot of work goes into stuff behind the scenes, and people don't realize like, none of us are making money. It's all for the
No one
love,
has any idea that these are my parents' fridge boxes that they told me to put in the rubbish.
Shout out to your parents.
Yeah, and that cost.
I thought it was going to fall down for a second.
$20 to print all these.
Well, it's like boom, the set.
I got all my tour posters and I went down to Warehouse Stationery across the road and printed them out. Cost me $15. I got like a little glue stick. You know,
that's all your money too.
Glue sticks don't smell as good as they used to. I tell you that much. And then,
nobody's paying you back for those bloody posters.
But yeah, you're right. I mean, we're recording this through Exile's touring rig, which is an undisclosed amount of money. Yeah. And then to have 3 camera angles is also very expensive. You underestimate that. So.
It's all for the love, and it's like people don't understand the time that you just like put in, like your own time that you put in. Like people were like hitting me up when I sent out the Evil Priest records, like the very next day that they were getting their sales, and like, when's my record gonna come, bro? And I was like, man, dude, I order vinyls from overseas and I wait for like 6 weeks. Yeah. I was like, you're going to get this next week. And that involved
Seems
me.
Like a month. They're like,
Gareth, come and help me. Gareth and Loza, come and help me. My niece Loza, she come and help me. Gareth, come and help me. We boxed up over 100.
I did not tell my apprentice that. I was like, let's go see your uncle.
But like, so they come and box up 100 fucking vinyls. That was me literally writing out everybody's address, making sure I got it right. Gareth's fucking sitting there boxing it up, and I'm putting them in the pile, and I've got a spreadsheet. It's not like oh, you click on this website and let's
it's
go.
It's like a factory.
It's literally DIY, you know what I mean? But it works. Yeah, it works.
When I first got, because like the Exile album got released on vinyl in Europe, and like people ordered it from Europe and New Zealand and stuff, and it took a couple months for them to come to New Zealand. But when they come to New Zealand, I had all the boxes ready, and I also had, so you know, you got like the vinyl boxes, and they like fold over in their vinyl sizes. Yeah. And I also got the protective fillers, which are just like squares. So like squares that you can put on inside, and then you know how cardboard goes in a direction. Yeah. So on the fillers, I put the cardboard in the opposite direction, which is what you're supposed to do, because then you've got the boxes lines are going this way, and then the fillers going that way. And I'm packing these vinyls like so well, and like it takes me like a day to do like all of the orders. Yeah.
And then you receive a vinyl from overseas and it's warped and bent, and you're like, I'm not even going to send it back.
Where was Luke? Luke could have sent our vinyl.
Yeah. I was making sure that those are all good. But when we got offered the excess vinyls when we were on tour in Europe last year, from the label. He's like, oh, take these on tour and sell them. And I was like, I cannot guarantee the safety of these. It's so fragile, you know?
Yeah, and I remember getting the Exile vinyl, so I ordered it just before COVID, and I think I was one like from overseas,
from
and I think I was one of the. I think I got mine before you even got yours.
A lot of people got them before.
I got mine after you, but
and I was like, yeah, everyone, you know, no one got their vinyls because of COVID for ages.
Well, that one up on the wall, bro. That one there is Lee gifted that to me, and he got that before me. And do you know where he was at the time? In Saudi Arabia.
Oh, holy shit!
He's in Saudi Arabia, and he got it before me.
I've got that one. Yeah, it's a dope colorway.
Yeah,
I think I did an Excel story where I was mixing, and I was like,
you scratched it up. All right. What else does NZPP do? So you've got a couple of interviews up there. You keep the social media active by pushing like new shows and.
Pretty much it's designed to promote a lot of there's a scene, we're promoting bands all the time. Every New Zealand band we push as much as we can. We share all their stuff. I don't know if anyone how much pull we've got, but we're always supporting bands.
But tell them why New Zealand Hardcore Past and Present, the zine that you do is not on the internet. Okay. Why you're doing it, and I'll dip out.
So to be honest, I used to put all my interviews online, and then I don't actually know how many people read them on my website. So I thought, hey, I talked to my apprentice Lozo, and I was like, let's make a zine, you know, like bring back zines. It's like, who makes zines anymore? But I thought, hey, let's try and aim to keep it off, you know, basically off the net. And push that, make it a bit more special. People have a physical copy, they can have it in their smoker room or something. But I can push past history as well as the newer bands and promote them and stuff. And also a lot of the stuff that's happening overseas, try and bring that into the zine and keep people relevant. Like if you're just getting into hardcore and you're reading it, there's heaps of information, you know, say Triple B Records, I'll have their catalog.
How do you approach those guys overseas? Do you say, hey, I'm a zine from New Zealand, I've got a couple questions for you?
Yeah, would you mind, pretty much so I pretty much, you know, because everyone's in hardcore, no one's got egos, they're just ground level. You can literally reach out to them and they'll reply, because, you know, it's not like a big metal band where they'd probably never ever look at their messages. So most people are pretty cool. And so this zine, we've got the guitarist from Speed, he's doing an interview. We've got, and he was cool, you know? Yeah, I just reached out to him on Instagram.
We talked with them when he used to play for Relentless.
Yeah, I did a few Relentless questions. So did you tour with him in Aussie, or did you play with him when he came to New Zealand in 2000?
I don't think in 2000 when?
12 was it? 2012.
That must have been just before I joined. Yeah. I joined at the end of 2012. Maybe that was when Ron was on bass. But I did a lot of, must have done 2+ tours with Relentless in Australia.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And so Bones, we met the singer J-Way from Bayway, and going over to America and meeting people. Is it gonna fall over, mate? No, there it is, mate. There
Relentless tour, D's Nuts, Antagonist, Relentless, Earthqualler. I need a piss too. How about you guys just do a little cameo on this camera?
Yeah, sweet, mate.
I'll do.
So
I'll do an interlude.
Do a beatbox. Boy, what were you saying about Luke, bro?
Saying his band's amazing. You know, you were talking shit on it, but I wasn't.
Oh, mate, fucking hell.
Bro, what's Luke's mic like?
Oh, mate, look at that mic. Far out.
It's better than my one. What's up?
How come he gets the flash one?
I'll say, what's up? Yo, let's get this podcast bumping and jumping.
Hey, we'll do it again.
Yeah.
A bumping and then a jumping.
Yo, let's get this podcast bumping and a jumping.
Yeah.
We weren't doing anything, Luke.
No, Luke. Sorry, mate. Just having a beer, mate.
But
do you reckon he should put an E in Exile?
Garreth was mocking you, bro. He was let's get this podcast bumping and jumping. Yeah, it was.
I always when I go to the warehouse, I get an 8-pack of Coke Zero cans, and when Manaki was here, I offered them one, and I'd opened it, and I was opened it from the side, and I grabbed it, and then one started like rolling out the side, and then they all started rolling out, and it all like burst onto my floor and were fizzing out. That was pretty bad.
Like on Superbad. Did you do this, sir? No. Somebody should clean this up.
All right. Well, let's fast forward. Let's fast forward to the most current thing and what everyone knows you from. Everyone currently knows you from, which is Drop Off Point. So Drop Off Point started in 2020 before COVID or during COVID?
Before. Yep. So, in all this talk of New Zealand hardcore past and present, we were like, let's do a fucking band.
10 years we were joking
Yeah, we were joking about it.
Come on,
like,
Bones, I'll just play bass. Come on, bro.
Yeah. And then I was like, actually, you know, like I was sitting on that riff from Regime.
Hold on.
I would listen to, I would write riffs and I would listen to them on my headphones, and then I'd write lyrics to them and stuff like that. So a lot of the first album that you hear is riffs from what I've made, and the lyrics that I wrote. But Garreth wrote the lyrics to Hardcore Pride. He sent them.
Not really.
You sent them to me as a joke.
Yeah, I don't know.
And I wrote this riff,
and I was like, "Hey, we're using them."
Yeah. And I was like, it was like this real kind of like, it was like a piss take, and I was like, nah, Bolt, let's fucking use it. So, we went up to, so we started this band, and so what happened is I wrote the Drop Off Point songs with like if you listen to the first Drop Off Point record, it's literally to a 1 BPM. All the songs are like a 1 BPM because I didn't know how to change it in Logic.
Oh, so you had Logic, because the funny thing is that
you can change it in Logic, but I didn't know that.
You can change it in Logic, but you can't change it in GarageBand, because the XL EP we recorded, we wrote the demos in GarageBand. You can't change the tempo. That's why everything's half time, double time.
Exactly.
But you had Logic and you couldn't change it.
I didn't know how.
Oh, bro, because as soon as I got Logic, I was like this.
Yeah. So I didn't know how to do that. So a lot of what you hear on the first Drop Off Point record is just 1 BPM the whole way through. Even when we hit double time, the metronome's still going at the same time, you know what I mean? So it's very fucking simple. But a goal that I had for Drop Off Point was like, I wanted to write simple but effective. Like when I was growing up, I fucking listened to a lot of I won't get into no, like when we were young, you know what I mean? So like growing up at high school and stuff like that, and I loved like Queen, Pink Floyd, Jimi Hendrix, you know, like my nana gave me like Ray Charles and all that shit. I loved it, but as soon as I heard Nirvana, Smells Like Teen Spirit, I was like, I want to pick up the guitar.
That was the guitar band, eh? That was like
this sounds like, to me, I was like, I can do this. It's not Smashing Pumpkins where they're all over the place and they're all like, you know, like super technical. I was like, this sounds easy, you know what I mean? And we loved Rage Against the Machine, and I went to high school, and this guy showed me how to play Nirvana songs and Rage Against the Machine songs on guitar. So I was like, this is me. So I learned how to play guitar. So when I heard hardcore, I was like, I fucking want to do this because I can do this, you know what I mean? And so the goal for Drop Off Point for me was going back to that simple but effective, that whole Nirvana strategy. I just want to do like very simple but effective.
Catchy caveman hardcore.
Eh? Caveman hardcore.
Yeah, caveman hardcore, mate.
Yep. And
simple, fun.
Yeah.
Nothing too serious.
I heard, so Gareth told me about this band that was talking shit on us.
Who was that?
I won't say the band.
I don't even know the story. Do I know the
story? Can I say?
Or no, I don't even whisper.
I'll tell you
keep it a secret.
Yeah, I'll tell you afterwards. Anyway, but they were like, we've played shows with them, and they were super technical, super cool, and like great musicians and stuff like that. Nah, and he goes, Drop Off Point. He goes, Drop Off Point are like real simple, eh? And I was like,
yeah.
And I was like, yeah. So
I know the story.
He was listening to the songs that I wrote. Yeah. You know, like it is meant to be simple caveman fucking hardcore.
Yeah.
I'd been in
it's just
Arcane
fun,
and Daredevil and trying to do all the
hardcore.
Technical harmonics and trying to do this and that. And I was like, you know what? We grew up on Sick of It All, Agnostic Front, where it's just catchy.
Killing Time.
Yeah, Madball, like just catchy. And I was like, I just want to do that. I just want to play something that I love or we
Yeah.
love, you know?
Yeah.
And Garreth was on the exact same page as me. Hey,
Yeah.
so we were just like,
100%.
I was like, play this.
No, for
cunt.
sure. But plus, Rusty on guitar, jumped on bass, like I used to play guitar and stuff. So it's, and hardcore's fun. Like that style of hardcore you don't have to be really, really good at guitar or whatever. So, and I was like, yeah, man, I'm all for it. It's what I love, what we listen to.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah.
And it was like when I wrote People Die, it's like 3 chords. Like it's literally fucking 3 chords. And I sat on ages with this verse riff and I was like, man, what do I go into the chorus with? I don't know. But then I switched back to my listening to hip hop days.
Yeah.
Like the same beat will go through the whole song, but they just change up the lyrics with the same beat.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, why don't I make the chorus the same as the verse, but just strum it instead of picking it?
Yeah.
And it worked a million times over. Put like the catchy sing along bit to it. Boom, song done. That song's literally 3 fucking chords.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it sounds amazing. And we got Mad Joe from Wisdom and Chains on that song.
Yep.
And he fucking killed it.
Very cool.
Yeah.
That was like a dream, mate, because like we've loved Wisdom and Chains for years. So like having Mad Joe,
man.
and especially because he's left with Wisdom and Chains now. So getting him on a track was like, you know,
Yeah.
like we're like little kids, just like
It was right time, right place for People Die. You know what I mean? Like, do you believe in law of attraction? Like
The band.
no,
Just it could be a band.
no, like you
Like if you
see,
put it out there like a goal and then you strive
you
to
see,
get that
you
goal.
know it's going to
Yeah,
happen,
for sure.
and it does fucking happen. So
Yeah.
when I wrote People Die, I was like,
We were
okay,
like,
this sounds
this
like
is
a wisdom song.
This sounds like a wisdom song.
We're gonna get fucking wisdom on this fucking song.
Yeah.
And so I never wrote, because I wrote the lyrics for People Die, and I never wrote a second verse for it because I just fucking knew it was going to happen.
Yeah. That's cool.
And I reached out to him on Instagram. I was like, this is who we are. It's how long we've been doing it. It's what we're about. He goes, yeah. He didn't even hear the fucking song. It could have been the shittest song in the world, and he's already agreed to it.
Yeah.
But we sent him the song, and he was like, man, this is on. And I said, do whatever you want when we go into the bridge or whatever. And he fucking killed it. Like Mad Joe.
And he didn't even he just
respect
got us
to
to
him, man.
pay Stretch. Is it
Yeah,
Stretch?
Stress.
Stress.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
he just paid Stress to record him. Didn't charge us anything.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that guy Stress is like a legend.
Yeah,
you know,
he's
recorded
he
like
was
Vinnie Pairs.
DJ for Army of the Pharaohs and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah,
Recorded
so-
Madball.
Cool.
But like it was just like I sent him over a lot of it was funny. I sent him over a lot of merch for doing it, and I sent him over heaps of New Zealand chocolate.
Oh,
Which
yeah.
just seems
Like
weird.
Whitaker's.
Yeah.
Did you see the mini Marmite?
No, he said he's just tried it and shit.
People hate Marmite.
Yeah,
though.
people
But
hate
like, honestly,
Marmite.
because I've heard from people overseas like American chocolate is shit, and I was just there, and it actually kind of is.
Yeah.
But I sent him I was like, do you like chocolate? And he was like, fuck yeah, it was just like thinking outside of the box. Like,
Yeah.
I want to send this guy heaps of merch, but what's something else that I can make it Kiwi? I sent him pineapple lumps,
Oh, yeah, nice.
and so
I had a pineapple lump last
yeah,
night.
yeah. He called them kind of like the Charleston Chews or something, but it was super cool. But like what Garreth was saying before, there's no egos in a hardcore. You can reach out to people.
Everyone's
and they'll
ground
reach
level,
back.
you can reach
You know what
out.
I mean? Like
It's cool.
he's been in a hardcore band for 15 plus years,
He's been in some pretty good bands.
and they've done amazing things. And I can just message him, and he messaged me back. And he didn't ask for any money. He just asked for Stress's studio time, and he laced our song, and it was amazing. Like, and it just set it off,
for sure.
you know. And it was so cool, bro. Like, just real humble. So shout out to Mad Joe and
Yeah, for sure.
all the Wisdom crew.
And for forming the band, so you had the original members, not Ryan,
Dave.
and
Ben.
so I've seen
Clinker.
Dave playing lots, and I've seen
Yes.
all his bands and stuff. But
man.
Ben,
Yeah. So like what I said before is that I loved the break-in. Like when we were playing in Regime, funny story, I turned down being in the break-in twice. I got asked to play guitar.
So that's why they haven't been doing shows.
So I got asked to play guitar from Luke back in the day, and I was like, nah, I'm doing Regime. And then they needed a bass player, and I was like, actually, nah, because I had a young family and stuff at that time. But then as time went on and I kept watching them, I was like, fuck, this band is on.
Yeah.
Like, so the Breakin' was like my favorite band. I love watching Ben Klinkenberg play drums. So I would just sit back at the Void. You remember how the Void had that backstage bit behind the curtain? But I would stand there and just watch Ben. I fucking love watching drummers do their thing because it's so, you know, like they're so talented. And he was on and the Breakin' was on. So when we started Drop Off Point, I was like, I want the vocalist and the drummer from the Breakin' to be Drop Off Point. That was my vision of Drop Off Point.
Dave was
my riffs.
like, for us, like Dave's voice,
Yeah.
he definitely has a real unique voice. It sort of reminds us of like the Sick of It All vocalist. And Dave, so like,
he's so on.
yeah, for sure. So that first EP was mean.
Yeah, so we went to K-Drum Studios where Ben works. And
He owns K-Drum Studios.
he owns it. Yeah, sorry.
That's his thing.
Yeah,
He
sorry,
doesn't
Ben.
work there.
You know what I mean, bro. And
He
so
makes custom drum kits out of exotic New Zealand wood. He makes beautiful drum kits.
For sure.
Handmade. I've seen
And
that hand massage oil into wood.
Yeah.
So he's on
He's got a
next
passion
level.
for it.
Exactly,
Yeah,
and
for sure.
that shows through because he is a drummer.
Yeah.
And so we go to K-Drum Studios. We spent like a few weekends there. We stayed the night.
Yeah.
And we recorded like a Friday, Saturday, whatever.
We just
Sunday.
have to say one thing, how Dave got there. He skateboarded on an electric skateboard from Central.
Not from Hamilton,
Oh, sorry. Wrong, but yeah.
but like
To K Studios.
no, it was a long way.
No, he got dropped off in Auckland Central and he literally, on the bus, he skateboarded on an electric skateboard all the way to West Auckland to K
What?
Studios.
Yeah,
Bro, he reckons it didn't take him long.
that's what he reckons.
Yeah, like.
But anyway,
Yeah.
it was,
Okay.
No, that's.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Right. So we go to K Drums and he's got his workshop where he's got all the lathes and stuff like that. But he's also the road manager or stage manager for 660 and Drax Project.
Yeah.
So all 660's drum kits are all there, all labeled and all done, and it's all really impressive. And he's got his studios, which are like amazing. And then we recorded, like he did it all for free, bro. Like Ben went out of his way to be like an amazing host and drummer. He had great ideas for our first EP and he just fucking smashed it, you know what I mean? And it was so cool to have those guys to do the first EP. And all I said was, I just want to walk away from this weekend with 2 songs. So walked away with 2. We came back and recorded 3 more. And then we actually, long story short, we re-recorded all of them to release the EP. And Dave did all the lyrics. He sung my lyrics that I wrote. He wrote some. And then when we got the bug, we were like, we want to play shows. We just want to kick this thing off. You know what I mean? So it was just like...
So it was supposed to be
Just a
recording
Oh, really?
project. So it started off like, hey guys, let's just like record this, and then we kind of were like,
Me and him.
we were like, okay, that was fun, let's go.
We wanna play shows.
we were just like, okay, we want to do shows, but they were pretty busy. Like
Yeah.
Ben
was
Ben,
just...
with K Drums and then K Studios, and then like
He's away more than you.
Nothing was lining up. He was like, I got to do a 660 show. He got us backstage at a 660 show and it was cool and we saw what he got to do. So he's doing that and he's going all over the world doing that.
Yeah.
And then Dave at the same time, he's got a young family, like toddlers, you know what I mean? So we were like, me and him, we got teenage kids
now.
And,
like,
and we were
party.
like, let's go.
Back on the buzz.
So Dave was just like, man, it's not viable. So Garreth worked with this guy called Mikey Walker on a building site for years.
Yeah.
And they had joked about fucking being in a band for years. So, I met Mikey through Garreth and we
those two
we fucking hit it off, man.
Like, I was like, I shouldn't have introduced them.
Yeah, like we were away. Garreth was like, "Fuck, the neighbors can hear you guys." You know what I mean?
We won't tell that story.
So it was, So it was great. Like me and Mikey hit it off. So then when Dave kind of was like, "No, I want to step down," then Mikey just took the reins. And
Mikey literally, we were like, "Mike, you got 2 days to learn all the lyrics and do a show." He's like, "Hey," we're like, "Yep." I'm just going. I don't know if I can talk about it, but he smoked this crazy big doobie. We're like,
before,
what are you doing? Because we don't smoke. We're like, what are you doing, mate? Are you going to be able to
inherit information?
And then he sung a perfect set. We're like,
perfect.
We're like, what the hell, Mikey?
We were like, this is the guy. And then no disrespect to Dave because I love the break-in, but when Mikey joined Drop Off Point, I felt
because we were like brothers, you know, like
his voice suited our music, you know what I mean, bro? Like so, like his and just how in sync we are. We were just like, man, this is on. Like I was like, he actually suggested Mikey before I wanted Dave and Ben, but I was like, nah, I want the break-in guys.
Yeah,
like because this is what I want. And then when it didn't turn out, Mikey was the first choice, and then
I think so Bones, you were saying like this is your first band with like friends, Like, not friends.
No, like that we hang out.
Yeah, we hang out. Yeah, you know what I mean? So I feel like it's kind of like it's really fun.
When we get together,
we're all like brothers.
Yeah, when we get together, it's on, bro. Like so, like we played Camp Aloham in Wainuiomata, which is like a festival. We got asked to play Wainuiomata, which is like, do you know, it's just out of Wellington. Like over the hill, it's like a real small town.
Okay.
But it was in this camp, and it was like this.
And everyone was on mushies.
Like
it was crazy.
Like you would go up this road, and there'd be a little boat shed, and there'd be
having a trip just listening to this.
Yeah,
and then you would go up this massive hill by the lake, and then there was a massive stage by the lake, and it was like there was probably 100 plus.
I'm just gonna take a piss.
Yeah. There was, go on, my son. So anyway, we play Wainuiomata, and it was just like, not a hardcore fest at all. It was just all these crazy fucking bands, but Drop Off Point got asked to play, and we're like, fuck yeah, let's fucking play, you know?
Yeah.
Who cares? Let's go. So we show up at the show, and it was like, heck are we like, what are we doing here? Like, this is just like not us. Dollbludger played. Mandate played.
Yeah.
So
Mandate are from Dunedin, aren't they?
Yeah. So they all got cool sets. I can't think of the guitarist name from Piss Baby. What's his Death Tripper.
Death Tripper.
So he played. Holy shit, bro! Like that dude's on a whole fucking other level. Like, and we in this like little crazy cabin thing, and they got strobe lights going, but it's like drum machines with heavy guitars. It was insane, bro. You know what I mean? So like Death Tripper.
Oh, they were great.
At
Death Tripper was pretty, like, you had to be there. It was like a strobe light with the drums, man. That shit was crazy.
But yeah,
wow.
So we got
wild.
asked to play these shows, and was just like, hey, let's fucking do it. Who cares?
Yeah.
But it was still pretty cool. Sorry, I don't even know where that question started.
Nah, I've got to even know how it even got there at the start.
Yeah.
You started taking us on a trip.
If you want to cut that out.
I'm about to get to the venue.
Yeah, sorry.
I was like, what?
What did we ask?
The bloody bourbons, mate. This is a terrible.
I think Mikey. You were talking about how Mikey's new to the band.
Yeah, okay. Maybe we'll cut that bit out.
Yeah, so Mikey,
cut that bit out.
New to the band, he fitted in really well,
Yeah,
like I'd say, like that's when we were like, okay, now we're like, no.
I mean, so did Dave and Ben kind of tap out at the same time?
Yeah, well,
Pretty
they were
much.
really like. I guess we started as we were going to do like a project band where we like do some recordings and stuff and release an EP. And I don't, because Ben didn't have time to do gigs and stuff, and Dave had the young fam. I guess we were like, okay, now it's time to find Mikey and sort of ramp it up and become like an actual band rather than like a project.
Yeah.
And that was when Drop Off Point kind of started.
Yeah, and at that time, we shared the same practice space as Brawler, and so Fu, who was drumming for Brawler, Garreth knew him through Joe and everything, and we were just like, hey, do you just want to fill in if Ben can't do it? And then he started to, and then he just became our full-time drummer, and then he just
very talented.
He just took it up like another level, bro. Like, and we were talking before about how Fu is like very methodical.
Yeah, he's just like, so like
what I said.
Takes it serious.
if you play a guitar riff, you have to play that guitar riff the same way every time. And Foo would play the same drum beat every single time, like the same toms, the same like snare hits, and everything was super methodical.
Yeah.
And say if I was doing chugga chugs, he would be like accent it with double kicks, and it was like he took us to a new level, you know what I mean? So we recorded, so they dipped out, we released our first EP, and then so we're on to our next EP, and we recorded at a place in Hamilton called The Porch with Regan McKinnon. We had Lachlan Pickford doing the mastering and stuff like that for us. But so Foo got to record all his own drums.
All live.
Yeah, all live, because Brawler stuff is all programmed. So Foo was really stoked that he got to play his drums all live. And it sounded great, man. Like it was just on, and like Regan did a great job of recording. Like I know I took a lot from the Amanaki podcast about them tracking their own guitars and stuff like that, but
the experience was good, eh?
I loved it. We took a week off.
Like a week off to hang.
Just hang out. Yeah. And that was
Mikey
like I
had like
wanted it to be like a
bongs.
bonding experience. Yeah.
It totally is, isn't it? You get to immerse yourself in the music. You don't have to worry about going to work the next day.
Yeah.
You have to worry about your mister. You know, you're out there.
Yeah,
You're at the studio. You're just
So
focused
Mikey was there, and he didn't have to do vocals last day.
So he was
Mikey's out there getting on it, and he was loving it, bro. Like, and it was such a vibe, bro.
Yeah.
It was, and like, there's a video on our Insta of kind of clips of us recording that whole session, and it was like so much fun, and like, it was just a fun time, man. Like, it was just like, I think Izzy recorded one of the Antag albums out there. He did drums out there. Yeah,
is this out in like Raglan or something?
Nah, it's out by Hamilton,
not out
just
at
outside
Raglan,
of Hamilton.
It's kind of like
on
the way, I guess.
Yeah, I remember seeing some old videos, and they're hanging out with like a dog somewhere. But maybe
that's it. That's the same one.
Yeah.
Oh, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's where they did the Nothing from No One then.
Yep.
Because they released that album. Yeah, Nothing from No One. They released it. There was that dude, Millen from Cobra Khan was on bass, and then right after that album he left, and then Rowan played for like maybe all of 2012, and then I joined. So I joined right after that record was released. Yeah, that's a really good record. Nothing.
So that release, all Izzy's drums were recorded out and at the Porch, and it was and it's just an amazing room, bro. The acoustics in that room were just so on,
nice,
bro. We hired. I got a $10,000 drum kit for Foo. Then we had a backup one, and then Foo just ended up using his Mapex, which is amazing anyway. Yeah. But he had like all new skins and everything, and it was just like he used his drum kit, which he was super comfortable with, and I think it shows through on that record, because he was just like
comfortable. He was just
so comfortable, bro. Like he was like, I've never played to a click track, and then we put the click track on, he fucking smashes it.
Wow.
And we were just like,
was there any K Drums gear on it or?
No, not that one.
Because Izzy plays the K drum snare. I remember it was like one of the first ones, and he'd take that overseas with us.
Yeah, it had a big hole in the side of it, bro. Yeah, and when he popped that motherfucker, it would like make your ears bleed.
Yeah. I never saw Izzy before Antagonist, but I know that he like influenced like a lot of people. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. When Izzy's
a good bugger too.
When I started Regime with Ryan Jordan and Mikey Shields, I rock up to this practice room. I never met Izzy before, and I kind of dipped out of the scene for a while, and here's this tattooed up motherfucker, and he was like, "Oh, hey man, I'm Izzy," and I was like, "Oh, hey bro, Bones," and then he was like, I was like, "Oh, you've been doing music for a while," and he goes, "Oh yeah, I'm in this band called Antagonist," and I was like,
"True,
never heard of you." Like I'd been to shows, but I'd never really like taken it in, you know what I mean? Yeah. But like, and Izzy was cracking up, and then
did you get that?
Then, yeah, and then so, but we had mutual friends, so we fucking just hit it off like a house on fire, you know what I mean? Like, straight from the jump, Izzy is like my fucking boy. You know what, bro? You know what I mean?
It was real
like,
cool to tour with him when we were touring like early.
He's the fucking best dude, bro. Like
sure.
I have tried numerous times over the years to get him in drop-off point when we're trying to go through drummers, but he just doesn't want to, and I won't get into it, but you know why he doesn't want to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
What is it? No, I don't know. No, just kidding. No, he's a busy man. He's
Roll
doing
high, bro.
very well, He's working.
Native bird drafting and architecture.
Yeah, he's working
man.
hard, man.
He's
So,
making
like,
cool
for
houses.
sure,
and
definitely.
yeah, so like, but like that dude, whenever I ring him, he's just a stand-up guy. Even I just ring him and talk shit to him for like over an hour, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
About everything and nothing, you know what I mean? So I still keep in contact with him. But nothing but respect for that dude, and that guy is so fucking talented on the drums.
Yeah,
I'm
for
so gutted he's not playing drums, but
Yeah.
it's just where
He
it
was,
is, you know what I
he
mean?
was, bro, one of a kind. I remember this moment. I remember looking over my shoulder and just being like, fuck, he's in the pocket. Like,
Yeah, bro.
and he like looks
Yeah.
so sick. His style is so
Yeah.
sick. And,
Yeah.
bro, more people should see
He's just got
should see him drum.
he's just got the style, like, and it's all authentic, bro.
Yeah.
Like he just never tried to be anybody but himself. He just loved having a good fucking time slamming the tubs.
Yeah, with a
You know
crooked
what I mean?
hat too.
Yeah. You know, when he gets on it, bro, like, you know what I mean? Like he is like in the pocket.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys. Like, and then I probably didn't meet that style of drummer or that type of dude in pocket till Foo.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And then I was just like, yeah, this is where it's at. And then
With Foo though, it got very hard for him in the end because he was in two bands, and Brawler, they were doing a lot of shows, and Drop Off
Yeah.
Point was doing a lot of shows, and
burning him out.
It was right
Yeah.
after COVID, right? And then everyone could play again.
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
everyone was playing
Yeah.
a whole lot of shows.
man, there was shows.
You guys were saying yes to everything, and
yeah,
Yeah, bro.
yeah,
you
for
guys
sure.
were playing heaps of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And Foo also works really hard, and being in two bands doing shows all the time, it got a bit hard. But yeah, do you want to tell them how we met James?
Yeah, so we played our second show. No,
So that was Mikey's
third-
first show.
Yeah, Mikey's first show.
First show.
Our third show at Ding Dong. And so here's this fucking guy in the crowd
Good bugger.
singing
Yeah.
every fucking word.
He knew all the lyrics. He was up at the front, throwing down. Yeah.
And I fucking walked off stage, and I was like, bro, like I had this drop off point hat made, and I was like,
He was just a
I was
good
like,
bugger.
can I give you my hat, bro? Because you're like fucking singing every fucking word, and he was like, fuck yeah, bro, I'll fucking take your hat. Like he was just so stoked, and he was like, fucking thank you, bro, and gave me a big hug, and I was just like, this dude is like super fucking.
He was
into
such
it.
a good bugger that
But
we
I
were
didn't
just
know-
like shouting him drinks. I was like, man, like, yeah.
Yeah, so you got on it with him. that
Yeah,
night.
well, I had, like, we were getting on it afterwards. I
Yeah,
was like,
but I didn't even know he was a drummer
yeah.
at all. He was just like this dude who was
Just a
fucking
good-
singing
yeah.
along and just having a fucking great
And he really
time.
liked our band. We were like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
There's one person. Nah, just kidding.
Yeah.
yeah.
So you employed your first fan.
So
You're all right.
So a year goes by and Foo's like, all right, I'm ready to tap out. So we're like, sweet, bro. We're going to play with Sick of It All February 2024, and that'll be your last show.
Yeah,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? We'll give you a fucking time. And then I was like,
That was a good ending
I was like,
too.
we'll fucking find a drummer easy as, because we
They
were
were
like,
scared as. Like,
yeah, we were like, oh,
hey,
shit.
bro, what were you saying to food, bro?
So we, you know, it was like, holy fuck. It was like, so Foo's leaving, and we were like, shit, we need to find a fucking drummer. So I put this thing ad out, and I was like, but you need to be local, you know what I mean? Because we want to practice every week. And we got a few inquiries, like what we're talking about before. And we tried out two drummers.
We did have some, like, we tried out two good drummers, but they just
gel.
didn't, like, so me, Mikey, and Bones were like, you know, because we were all friends, like I was saying, like,
Yeah.
we just click. And so we were looking for someone that, like, fitted
Gel,
the band.
like,
Gel real
fair
well.
enough, fair enough.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
One of them
James
was-
is a yes guy, so.
Bro, so
yeah,
like,
he's such a. Oh,
yeah, James was like,
cool.
give me a shot. And I was like,
We're like,
Nah,
okay.
you're
we're
out-
like, because he's younger than us at the start, we're like, oh. And then we're like, okay.
nah, bro. I was like, you're out of town, bro. Like, it's not going to work. And he's like, okay, well, think of me, whatever. And then we tried out those two drummers. One tried to be like Travis Barker, way too out
Like,
the
both
gate.
good drummers, but yeah.
And then the other drummer was like real methodical and real cool, but that he was like, I only have learnt 4 songs. So this is the only ones we can practice. And then I said, you know what? Fuck it. Let's give James a shot. He's super enthusiastic. Fuck it if he lives in Orewa. Like, let's just... And then he was like, boom, I'll fucking be down straight away. And he come down.
Yeah.
And we were
he
like,
came.
what?
Was it the first time he played at Lauren's 18th? So my apprentice is his niece. We're like, Fu, Fu was still in the band at the time. We're like, Fu, do you want to come play my apprentice's 18th? And he's like,
at a house
nah,
party.
bol. And then we're like, yo, James, do you want to drive like 2 hours and come play at an 18th? He's like, fuck yeah.
I'll be there.
He's like, I'm leaving right now.
We'd had like one practice with James, and he came down, and we were like, and when in the practice we were like, what songs do you want to play, bro? And he goes, all of them. And we're like, you don't know any specific songs? And he goes, nah, bro, I fucking know all of them.
He knows all of them.
Yeah.
So then he just gets on the drums and just fucking slams it. You know what I mean?
Slam them.
And like even with our song, there's like a song called Just for Tonight. It's got this crazy bridge breakdown.
But Ben did
all this, Ben
technical,
Klinkenberg made all this crazy shit, which Fu smashed, but James could match.
Yeah, we were like, we thought, okay, he can't just nail all those songs. He's going to F up Just for Tonight.
Did.
And we were like,
he did. He smashed it. And so but the funny thing was, bro, like he's probably about 10 years younger than us.
But he's like
younger us.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like
cool.
Stupid dad jokes were like tick.
He's all for it.
Yeah, he laughs at our dad jokes.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We took him. So we took him down to a gig in Wainuiamata for Camp Aloham. We played on the stage in this forest. It was real funny. he was all for it, man.
Bones
he was just
mushies,
like,
nah.
Yeah. You spent about 10 minutes telling us about it, but we cut it out of the
we cut it out.
I'll just. We played in a forest, but we drove down there, and it was a great like. He just gels with us so good.
Yeah,
like he's just like he slotted in so well that like the new songs that we're going to be writing are going to be really fucking cool, and he's just going to like add his flavor to it, and he slams it. He's just a great guy, and it's just going to shine through on the new record. You know what I mean? Nice. So yeah, like
he's going to take away those learned experiences from you guys, like how you joined with the Shincaster guys, and like how I joined with the Burial guys. You know, he's going to take away that old head stuff, and he's going to, because he's plays for the drums for no reason as well.
Yeah, for sure.
He's going to take even if it's just one thing that he learns from you guys, he's going to take it to his other band members, and he's going to share it with those guys.
And if we had more mics, I would love him here on the couch.
Two's a fucking crowd around here, bro, straight up.
Yeah,
I've had like 5 people with like people sitting in the corner and not enough mic.
Like, yo, give me the mic.
So we get James in the band, and so he's from Orewa, and I was like, okay, bro, if you come down, you can just stay at my place. That's cool, eh? And he's like, yeah, bro. So the first time he comes to my place, he's like, holy shit, you got a spa out there? He's like, oh, fuck, let's go. So we just end up like, just after the show, just hanging out in the spa pool, drinking Jacks.
I think I dropped some McDonald's off him. He's like my kid, you know. I'm like, hey, I didn't ask Bones. I'm like, yo, James, you want some McDonald's? Yeah, I'm coming. I was in the driver. Yeah, got you, brother. Dropped him off some McDonald's in the spa.
So we're just hanging out, bro. But what I'm trying to get at is that he fully made himself at home with us. Like he wasn't really awkward when he came to my house.
He's at his house now. No. Hey, you in the spa, bro?
And so and then I was like, bro, the next day I was like, I gotta go to work, but so when you come back, just make yourself at home. Like I'll see you when I get back home. Next day, bro, I come back home and he's like this. He's like, oh, what's up, Bones? I was just like, got shot, bro. Like he just like he's that awesome. Comfortable, bro. Like straight off the bat, you know, when you don't really like connect with people, but he just connects with us so well, bro. And that's what I love about him, and just like he fits in with us, and he just fucking
because Drop Off Point's like a fun band, you know. We're not like trying to be, you know, we've got our goals or whatever, but you know, it's just all about that, really.
No fucking tough guy shit. It's just like
how has it
we just
been?
want to have fun.
How has it been actually? Like, Because you really are the people. You are the only people who are playing like actual hardcore, like traditional hardcore.
Traditional hardcore.
No one. Everyone's playing metallic hardcore and a version of metallic hardcore.
Yeah.
So you guys are standing alone, really playing the traditional stuff.
But we still love like all hardcore though, you know. We listen to all kinds of hardcore, heavy hardcore.
I suppose the crowd beggars can't be choosers too. So if you
Yeah.
play,
But we do get
what
a
else
lot
are you
of,
fellas going to watch?
But we do get a lot of love from people that are like, oh man, I love that Madball era, you know, or you know, you guys are bringing it back for it. And it's like, we're not trying to bring it back.
I'm going to say something, and that's everything has a place in the scene. Like when we went to This Is Hardcore, I'd say, you know, like Missing Link, popular band, like there was a place for them, and then there'd be a band like Haywire, and then, you know, like totally different styles, simple, way more, even more simple than Drop Off Point. And man, they had the biggest pits, the biggest stage dive sing-alongs, and still people throwing down. And I feel like it all just works. And especially at shows like, say, Summer of Hardcore, you got like Exile, Brawler, Drop Off Point, Gravel Pit, like all the bands, like, you know, all the bands that were there, I feel like
everybody held their own.
Well, you had everything. Like, you had like
like-
Brainwave playing thrash, you had Take Hold playing melodic style, and like everyone was just like, I'm getting like a showcase. For Summer of Hardcore, we were getting a showcase of hardcore.
Yeah, I love
great.
fucking Take Hold, bro. Like, they're one of my, like, when I was like young and listening to that fucking
songs.
emo shit. Like, fucking, bro.
Like, just kidding.
It's just all emo. I'm just crying listening to it, bro.
Shout out to Thomas. He's helping out at our Foundation Fest. You know, good bugger,
Legend.
man. Yeah, legend.
No, you know what I mean?
Good
Like,
buggers.
so we played after Brawler, and I was like, how the fuck are we going to play after Brawler? You know what I mean? And I was like,
damn you, Brawler.
But you just have to take the stage and be who you are.
Pretend
you know
you're
what
like
I mean?
the headliner or whatever.
Well, I mean, people can't sing along to Brawler. Brawler come out the gate like someone release some like junkyard dogs. But then Drop Off Point comes right, and you guys got the sing-alongs and stuff. So like,
and it all works. Yeah.
Run with what we were
that was the first show that we'd played
without our homies.
No.
It's like, where's that bridge?
No, but watching like Foo was watching us. So James had to be on point.
Yeah.
Like with knowing that Foo was watching him. And I said, if you go back to our set, I'm like, man, I said to Foo, I was like, it is so weird to not have you on the drums.
But
you're in the crowd.
Yeah.
And he was like,
and we loved Foo, but
but like
we couldn't.
He was like, I'll play Summer of Hardcore. But then I think he kind of said like, he was like, I just want to play like I still want to be in the band, but I just want to play the bigger shows. And we said,
we were gonna have two drummers. Yeah,
that's a great request.
Yeah, so
me too.
Yeah.
So I was like, no, I can't.
We're like, we can't do that to
I
James.
can't do that.
We
to
can't
James,
do that
bro.
to James.
Like, it's not fair.
It's all like, you know, for sure.
Yeah. So James stepped up at This Is Hardcore, but like that was such a different like genre of bands, but it was like amazing. Like, that was such a cool time, man. It was such a good show.
Definitely.
Shout out to VAR.
It's good
Great
to
show.
see a scene back too, eh?
Yeah,
you
man.
know?
Yeah.
Lots of shows, lots of good lineups.
I think my highlight of that was
sleeping in the car. No, just
I think my highlight was asking a whole lot of good friends if I could stay with them, and them saying nah.
Oh, bro. No, I was going to say stand over.
Shout out to all my good friends who let me sleep in my car that night.
So I was going to say stand over, but let me explain the fucking car situation. Fucking hell, bro. This is what you and fucking VAR talked about on the fucking podcast, but I was like, nah. So what happened was I said to Ben from Valhalla, I was like, man,
can I sleep on your floor?
In the toilet. So I was like, bro, we don't have any, like, we were going to stay with Loza and Josiah.
Yeah.
And then
but that's his niece, and I was not going to do that to them.
No, but
I offered you my floor, to be fair.
You did offer us your floor.
So what happened was Ben said, you can't leave your shit in here because I'm coming to open up at 12 or 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Okay. So if you leave your gear inside, then
it's not available till
stays inside. And I was like, fuck, we want to leave way earlier than that. So we packed it in the car, and then I was like, well, I don't want to leave our car at the back of Valhalla all with our gear in it.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, boys, looks like we're sleeping in the car.
Yeah.
And we've got to protect our gear. And then
I was like trying to sleep. I was like, that was an experience. I was like to my wife, what's happening?
contemplating
with my
life, bro.
Yeah.
This dude,
I was like, man,
Played the best show of my life. Now I'm in the dumps. I can see my breath. Bones just farted.
yeah, that definitely. Oh man, that was an experience. We did Wellington 2 weekends in a row.
2 weekends
Shit
in a
was
row,
hard.
bro. So like, bro,
No
like
good, Gene, no
honestly,
good.
we were driving back and we fucking hit this cafe and Garreth was like, I'm out, I need to go to the bathroom. So he goes out and honestly, he came out looking like a fucking hot mess, bro. And he...
What does it look like?
Yeah, like wrecked.
Yeah,
Like,
I was a mess,
so he walks in,
man.
he gets in the car and he's like, and he gets in and he goes, fuck, I've just been like contemplating life, eh? Like, why the fuck am I like sleeping in a car playing shows? Because he'd just been like, but this dude had
My
been
wife's
doing
at home
house
in a
renos
nice
for
warm
like
bed.
non-stop and just wrecked. And we were
Oh,
all
yeah, but-
like cracking up,
Yeah.
bro. And then like, it was just like, yeah, you are wrecked, bro. And I was
Yeah.
like, I was like, what are you complaining for? I was like, bro, I'm fucking driving. Like,
I
I was
drove
like,
us
yeah,
back
that's
and
right, later, Bolt.
Bro, that
It was,
yeah.
but it was a great fucking
Yeah, it
time.
was great.
That show was
You got,
awesome.
you know,
you get. I always laugh because like you don't know until you get what you ask for. And like when you go on tour and you're in like 20 dates in a bus and then one person gets sick and you think you won't get sick, everybody gets sick.
Yeah.
Everybody's sick, and you've just got like, and every day's like how you feel. It's like living in the gutter,
Yeah.
and you just have to become that person. Like, you know, you haven't showered, and well, to be fair, you got to shower every day, but you got the same clothes. You know what I mean? And like you're sick, and you've got to turn up, and yeah,
Yeah,
and then
man.
like COVID's going through the bus, but no one's testing. You know, and like
Bones is
nothing
like,
you
it
can do
doesn't
about
exist, Luke. No, just kidding. Damn,
But
yeah.
on that
ruthless.
note, we could talk forever. We got
Yeah,
this
for
camera here is
sure.
going to die.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, we should pick up on the things that we didn't pick up on when you guys release some new music. But
Yeah,
I think
sounds good,
we've
man.
touched on a lot of cool things, and it's been awesome to have you guys
Yeah.
on the podcast.
Hey, thank you
I think
so
it's,
much for having
you're gonna
us,
have
Luke.
us a
You
lot
know,
of
appreciate
mess
it
that
a
we have
lot.
to edit, but
yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This podcast more of a laugh. Don't anyone take any of this thing seriously. This is
Not
not
at all,
information.
man. That's
This
just-
is not a news broadcast.
No,
this is
it's
just a
not.
couple mates having a laugh
Hanging
over a
out.
few
We-
Jack Daniels.
Like Dak Daniels, bro.
I'm driving, I'm alright.
We're
Yeah,
just like, you know what I mean? Like our whole thing going into this hardcore scene is just to have fun. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
that's what it's
and
about.
the older guys that respected us, we're just trying to do that back. We're just trying to pay it forward. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like, there's no, like, I don't know if people like look at us and see the tattoos and the skinheads and stuff like that. Fuck, I'm going bald.
I got hair,
It's
mate.
not like I'm
Yeah.
fucking a skinhead. Like I'm going bald. You know what I mean? So like, people see maybe like a tough exterior, but no fucking way. You know, like we've both got
Yeah,
families.
definitely.
We're both raising kids. We both support our families.
Yeah.
And like, we just want to play music and have a good fucking time and make everybody feel included. And that's our whole goal. You know what I mean? Like playing shows from back in the day and like you have this ego. Like we're old and matured. We don't fucking give a fuck about that. We just want everybody to have a good time.
Yeah.
Want to make everybody feel included and just make awesome fucking music. You know?
Yeah.
You want the shows to start early, finish by midnight.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
10
yeah.
o'clock.
Same as everyone else.
10 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah. Got my earplugs, bro.
Nice, boys. Thanks again.
Ah, sweet, bro.
Awesome, brother.
Loved having
Sweet
you on.
as. All right.
Cheers.
Thank you very much.
BCHC.
And that's the end of the Garreth and Bones podcast. That was awesome. I think we're pretty drunk by the end of it. How cool was that, learning about hardcore, especially in Hamilton, all the way from the early 2000s, even before Hamtown Smackdown era, those guys at the Meteor, and yeah, just two dudes keeping it alive, just like I'm sure you guys are. So I want to thank you guys again for checking out the podcast. Don't forget, if you want to become a Patreon member, that'll help out the channel a lot. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. That's how you can help me out for free. And I'll see you guys next time on the Kiwistyle podcast. I'm actually filming this 5 minutes before I got to leave to Brazil for Christmas and New Year's, so I gotta go, G. Peace.